Hello everyone. Hope all of you are fine today and having a nice day. I'm Diana, and I would like to give you a brief introduction about Bakka. Bakka is a holding company that was established over 10 years ago. It owns two companies, Bakka Learning and Bakka Consulting. Our way at Bakka Learning is to deliver professional learning products that meet your needs. Together with these organizations, we aim to support you all the way in building your capabilities. As you can see on the screen, this organization we have built great stories with. We're very proud and honored to show you a sample of them. They say actions speak louder than words. Well, in Becca, numbers do. This is Becca at a glance, who we are and what we have achieved. We are always keen to add new products and categories as we believe strongly in sharing our values and expertise across the board. We want to be as convenient as possible to our clients by delivering our learning through different methods, languages, and product types. Our consulting company covers different specializations. We tailor our services to our clients in any sector and industry. Um, I don't want to take much of your time today, so please, if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to contact us using the email addresses shown on the screen. We'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. Once again, welcome to our training program, and we wish you a great learning experience. Before leaving you guys, I would like just to give you a promo code, especially for people who attended this session. This promo code, you can use it and you will have more than 80% discount on our self-study courses. Also, any one of you who can share his attend certificate for this course, he may get the chance to have a free seat in our ECBA online upcoming sessions. Thank you all for your attention. And please, Mr. Hussam, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Diana, for this introduction. Okay, let me start sharing my screen. Okay, so welcome everyone. MashaAllah, we have more than almost 400 participants, which is quite a crowd. Welcome everyone to this session brought to you by Bakka for Agile Project Management. Okay, my name is Hussam Madani. I'm an industrial engineer and consultant for quality and project management. Okay, so if we would like to start with the introduction, we'll just cover the main points we're planning to cover today. Okay, so first of all, we'll talk generally about projects, about project management, different types of projects. And then we will start talking about Agile principle, how to implement it, and what are the, let's say, the benefits of implementing Agile mindset. Okay, and then we'll go to the basics of Agile. You know that we are limited with this time, so we'll just cover the basics of Agile and make you aware of the terminology and what are the main components are. Okay, then we'll talk about the benefits of implementing this approach. Okay, we'll talk about the values and the principles of Agile, which we call it the Agile Manifesto. And then we'll take a sample of the approaches to implement Agile, which is Scrum. Okay, we'll talk about the Scrum, the methodology, the approach to implement Scrum, who are the main people in implementing that, and what are the main steps. Okay, we'll talk about a very important topic as well called user stories, and then how to release your product or output at the end of each iteration or at the end of the project, and then how to implement that within your organization. Okay, So if you have any questions, if you would like to share anything, I know that the time is limited, but yeah, we'll try to make it interactive session as much as possible. Okay, so these days, you know, that organizations are facing a big challenge to adapt to this changing world, rapidly changing world, let's say. Okay, you've seen the previous 2 years within this world were not normal. So organizations need to shift, need to change their mindset, need to change their approach in doing things. Okay, many companies start working online. Many companies start working remotely. They started changing or adapting to the new environment or the new requirements. Okay, so now we need to balance between doing the business as usual, the way we know it, the way we are confident with it, the way we are comfortable with it. Okay, and the other thing, which is facing these changes and enabling these changes within the organization. You know that implementing any change within the organization could be quite challenging. You'll face resistance. People usually they do hate the change. So how to implement this and how to go through this process? Okay. Now, as you know that Agile is a way of conducting projects, and we'll discuss this in more details tonight. Okay, so first of all, let's define project and what different types or what, let's say, different levels we have. Okay, so I'm sure that you are well aware of that. So if there's anyone who can share with us the definition of project. اوكي لو في اي حد ممكن يشاركنا في التعريف البروجكتس. يس اوكي طيب so if we discuss the definition of projects, we will define projects as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service or result. Okay, عملية مؤقتة. رايت عمليه مؤقته. انا بتكلم عربي لان في شايف في الشات في ناس طلبوا تكون عربي انجليزي. اوكي، عمليه مؤقته الهدف منها انتاج مخرج فريد من نوعه. مخرج ممكن يكون product، اوكي، ممكن يكون service، ممكن يكون result, whatever this result is. Okay, so we have project, we have something else called program, we have portfolio. Okay, so we have project management, program management, portfolio management. So what's the program? Now the program is a set of projects, مجموعة من البروجكتس، okay, organized together، مرتبة مع بعض أو جمعناهم مع بعض because they have something common. يعني ممكن يكونوا هم كل project متعلق بالثاني. يعني let's say you are building, let's say a compound، okay، مجمع سكني. مجمع سكني حيكون في مثلا سبورتس سنتر، حيكون في مجمع اسواق مثلا شوبينج مول، حيكون في لاندسكيبينج، حيكون في ملاعب، حيكون في سكن مثلا فيلل او شقق. okay. كل واحد من دول each one of these will be a project. okay. ممكن يكون في project manager للفتنس للسبورتس سنتر، project manager للشوبينج مول. اوكي، ولكن في program manager he is managing everything. اوكي، لانه all these components كل الحاجات دي مرتبطه مع بعض وتشكل جزء من product واحد كبير. اوكي، so this is the program. okay, and there should be some benefits of managing different projects as a program. يعني يكون في فوائد تتحقق، فوائد اضافيه. ان انا ممكن اخذ خصومات في المشتريات، ان انا ممكن اخذ اسعار احسن، انه تو مانج الريسورسز، اقدر ادير الموارد من اشيلهم او احركهم من مكان لمكان عشان احرك العمل او اسرع العمل بشكل اكبر. اوكي، في البورتفوليو مانجمنت. portfolio management is managing different projects or programs. okay, projects or programs, but these projects or programs are not related to each other. Okay, مش بالضرورة يكونوا related to each other. يعني ممكن يكون عندي portfolio manager. Okay, وتحته في program manager و project managers, but different projects. يعني ممكن يكون في project مستشفى, project فندق, project resort, project مجمع سكني. Okay, in different countries حتى ممكن يكونوا. مثلا يكون في portfolio manager for GCC. Any project happening or program happening within GCC will be under this portfolio manager. Okay, so these are the different types of projects. So we have project, program, and portfolio. Project, program, portfolio. Okay, so now project management, we defined projects earlier. Let's define project management. Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, okay, is the application of knowledge. Knowledge you get it from the team. ممكن تاخذ knowledge من التيم, من البروجكت مانجر, من الاكسبرتس اللي معاك في الاورجنايزيشن. skills personal skills او interpersonal skills عند كل واحد من التيم members, how skills in managing people, in managing team, in motivating team, okay, in managing conflicts. These are all skills. tools اللي هي ممكن يكون software, ممكن يكون any technique بتستعمله. These are tools. Okay, so tools and techniques. Two project activities. Implement these knowledge, skills, tools and techniques to the project activities. تطبيق المعارف والخبرات دي كلها في أنشطة المشروع. Okay, yes. So in project management, yeah, I know this graph looks like the PDCA, right? The plan, do, check, act. Okay, but this is a bit different. So here we're talking plan. على طول بنستart بالplan. أول حاجة plan, define the plan and the sequence of activities اللي حتعمله. حدد الخطة اللي حتبدأ تشتغل عليها. Okay, and one of the very important skills and المهارات المهمة للproject manager is the delegation. Okay, مهم جدا إن الproject manager to delegate authorities. Okay, للteam, because you as a project manager will never have enough time to do everything. Okay, so you have to trust and empower your team by delegating some responsibilities, some tasks to them. Okay, so you delegate and خلاص sit back. No, you have to delegate and then monitor, ensure that everything is performed according to the plan, right? Okay, so monitor the performance and monitor the team and monitor the process. Okay, and then control. Whenever there is any deviation, اختلاف بين implementation الفعلي واختلاف بين البلان. في حاجة ما عملناها as per the plan, so we need to control, we need to take corrective actions to make sure that رجعنا الأمور كلها as per the plan and we are going according to the plan. Okay, so this is the general approach, let's say, for managing project. Okay, so this is the main principle of project management. Okay, now if we go to the next point, now here we'll discuss the different approaches of project management. Okay, now بس ملاحظة because شايفين العدد ما شاء الله 428. So we'll not have enough time for this, for let's say يعني إذا عندكم مشاركات أو كذا, ولكن في نهاية السيشن حيكون في Q&A. So if you have any question, we'll answer that at the end. Okay. Sorry, we apologize, but you know the time constraint, because constraints is one of the things within project. Okay. Yes. So in projects, we have the traditional way, the normal way, which is predictive. Okay, predictive approach, or we call it waterfall approach, because we finish a step and we go to the next step. We finish a step, we go to the next step. This is the predictive or waterfall or plan-driven approach. And we have the adaptive approach, which is the agile. Okay, and we have a mix of them. We have the hybrid approach, which is if you have a big project, maybe the main project will be predictive, but some parts will be agile. Okay, and we'll discuss in the next few slides what parts to choose for waterfall, what parts to choose for agile. Okay, so these are the main project management approach: the waterfall, the traditional, the normal, the agile, the flexible, the fast, and the hybrid, which is a mix of all these. Okay, so here you can see the predictive waterfall approach. Okay, see, it's different activities, different steps or processes. Once you finish a step, you will move to the next one. You finish the next one, you move to the third one, and so forth. Okay, so you'll start by analyzing, finish analysis, you'll go to design, finish design, you'll go implementation and testing, and then maintenance. Okay, different steps of a project. So this is the traditional, the waterfall project. Now, there are some benefits. Since we are talking about agile, we don't mean that the waterfall approach is not good. No, waterfall approach is still good for some certain type of projects. Okay, so in the waterfall approach, usually we do everything ahead at the beginning of the project. Usually, if you remember, in anyone who attended PMP, most of the work is done in the planning phase. We try to plan for everything, because no way back. Once we start proceeding, yes, we do some changes, but not major changes. Okay, and at some points of the project could be very expensive to do some changes. Okay, so we try to investigate everything at the beginning. We try to accurately estimate the time and the cost and the risks, and manage stakeholders and develop all our plans, everything from the beginning. That's why it could be very expensive to change ahead in the project. Like if you are at the end of it, if the execution phase, for example, it could be very expensive to do any changes. Okay. Now, in the predictive approach, as we said, first of all, it's sequential. The flow activity is sequential. Once you finish a step, you move forward to another step. Okay. The feedback you get, your interaction with the customer usually is limited. Okay, you interact with the customer a lot at the beginning to collect information, understand the scope, understand the requirements of different stakeholders, right? Okay, then maybe your interaction will go low again. Once you have any, let's say, milestone, maybe you will meet with the customer, discuss, and then proceed. Okay, and then at the end of the project you will discuss, or before the end of the project you will discuss with the customer again. Okay, so the interaction with customer is a bit limited. As we said earlier, change could be expensive at certain points in the project. Okay, so this is the predictive or the waterfall approach. Now, the agile approach. Agile approach is not doing this. In agile approach, we start with some limited, let's say, information, and we don't plan for the whole project. We don't plan, let's say, for 6 months or 7 months, which is the duration of the project. No, we just plan for this sprint, which could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks period. Okay, so it's very easy to do this, let's say, mini plans. Okay, that will cover a simple or a specific iteration or increment within the project. A very important thing within the Agile approach that in the predictive approach, usually the customer gets the final output at which point of the project? At the end of the project, right? Okay, usually the customer waits till the end of the project, till let's say after 7 months or 1 year to get the output or to get the product. At that point, only the customer can use the product and can get the benefit out of the product or the service we provided. Agile approach will deliver value to the customer faster. Okay, so here you can see value to their customers faster. So Agile approach will try to deliver smaller outputs or smaller products for the customer as soon as possible. Okay, so the customer can start using it. For example, if you are developing a complete ERP solution, okay, so the customer doesn't have to wait for the full ERP system to be delivered. Yes, you can. Once you finish, let's say, the financial module, you can deliver it to the customer. The HR module can deliver it to the customer. Procurement module, you can deliver it to the customer. Okay, so the customer starts using and feeling the value of the project faster, which is a very important thing to keep the customer engaged within the project and motivated within the project. Okay. So this is a very important change between the predictive approach, between الapproach العادي اللي هو الكلاسيكي وبتوين الاجايل approach اللي هو المرن او السريع. Okay, في الاجايل we don't have any problem in doing some changes. Okay, ما في مشكلة في الاجايل انه تعمل changes. مش زي العادي البريدكتيف. ليه ما في مشكله؟ لانه انت البلانز اللي عملتها you didn't plan for the whole project, you planned for this sprint اللي هي مدتها ممكن تكون اسبوعين او 4 اسابيع. فالتشينج وزي ما هنشوف بعدين في نهايه كل سبرنت بيكون في ميتنج مع الكاستمر وبيكون في ساين اوف من الكاستمر واعتماد من الكاستمر. فاذا كان في اي تشينج، التشينج حيأثر فقط على شغل اسبوعين، مش حيأثر على شغل 6 شهور. اوكي، فالتشينج كان بي دان كويكلي. عشان كده الاجايل اول ما بدا في الاي تي اندستري، لانه بتعرف الاي تي اندستري والابلكيشنز والسوفت ويرز environment is changing very fast. يعني انت لو هتاخد let's say 5 شهور عشان تعمل ابلكيشن، خلال ال5 شهور دي ممكن في 10 ابلكيشنز similar applications نزلوا السوق. اوكي، فيو هاف تو تدرس اللي بينزل في السوق وتدرس الابلكيشنز المنافسه مثلا اللي نزلت وتعكس الفيتشرز الجديده عندك. فيو هاف تو بي فيري flexible to do these changes. اوكي، وزي ما هنشوف في الاجايل مانيفستو بعدين ان التشينجز هي واحده من الحاجات اللي التيم بيحبها اصلا. usually التيم resist the change, but في الاجايل التيم will welcome the changes. اوكي، سو في الاجايل ابروتش عندنا بدل ما كان سيكونشال، لا هنا هيكون iterative، هيكون في سايكلز، كل سايكل نخلصها هيكون في عندنا مثلا output smaller output. ممكن مش بالضروره، ممكن can be shipped to the customer، حتى بيسموه يعني ايش، قابل للشحن، potentially shippable output or product. اوكي، الانتراكشن with the customer is very frequent. بيكون عندك انتراكشن مع الكاستمر بشكل مستمر بشكل عالي. في نهايه كل سبرنت بيكون في عندك انتراكشن مع الكاستمر وتاخذ منه فيدباك وترجع تحسن عملياتك وترجع تاخذ التشينجز وتغير العمليات عشان نكست سبرنت. اوكي، فشوف كيف انت تتذكروا في البروجكت العادي في نهايه البروجكت لو تتذكروا بنعمل حاجه اسمها lessons learned، صح؟ في نهاية المشروع بنشوف الحاجات اللي عملناها صح والحاجات اللي عملناها غلط عشان في المشروع اللي جاي نستفيد منها. لا، هنا ما بنعمل كده، هنا بنجمع الحاجات دي برضه lessons learned والحاجات اللي عملناها صح وغلط، مش عشان المشروع الجاي، عشان السبرنت الجاي نستفيد منها. فبتشوف انه التيم حتلاقيه بيتطور وبيتحسن بشكل سريع. اوكي. change is inexpensive. التشينج يعني مش حيكون مش مكلف، ولكن تكلفته بسيطه. ليه تكلفته بسيطه؟ لانه غالبا التشينج والامباكت شغل اسبوع، شغل اسبوعين. اوكي، فما حيكون الامباكت كبير. وزي ما قلنا انه الكاستمر على طول في انتراكشن مع الكاستمر، ف يعني ما حيكون في فرصه انقطاع كده عشان الكاستمر يرجع بفكر جديد او يرجع بافكار ما اتفقنا عليها. التواصل المستمر مع الكاستمر مهم جدا to control التشينجز، وعشان تعرف any change بسرعه وتبدا to adapt. Okay, I hope that everything is clear so far. Okay. والهايبريد ابروتش زي ما قلنا انه ممكن يكون عندي البروجكت كله بريدكتيف عادي، بس في تاسك within the project مثلا يكون اجايل. اوكي، تتذكروا المشروع اللي تكلمنا عنه، قلنا هنعمل كومباوند وفي سبورت سنتر وفي شوبينج مول وفي كده، رايت؟ فممكن الكومباوند دي يكون بريدكتيف ابروتش، لانه يعني بروجكت ما في تغييرات سريعه، الانفايرمنت تبع البروجكت ما بتتغير بسرعه، بروجكت طويل في تيم كبير. ف يعني ممكن من الافضل، وعملناه قبل كده، عملنا اكثر من كومباوند قبل كده، فممكن من الافضل انه نعمله بريدكتيف عادي. ولكن مثلا لو قلنا انه within this project حنعمل ابلكيشن عشان السكان في الكومباوند يقدروا يطلبوا صيانه، يقدروا مثلا يطلبوا سيرفيسز او كذا. اوكي، فthis application ممكن لوحده يكون agile. اوكي، within the big project. اوكي، فthis is the hybrid or blended approach within the project. Okay, so the predictive approach, which is the traditional, where the project needs, requirements, and constraints are understood and plans are developed accordingly. في أي مرحلة؟ في البلاننج اللي هي بداية المشروع، اللي هي ثاني مرحلة من مراحل المشروع، initiating بعدين planning، صح؟ في ثاني مرحلة من مراحل المشروع. إذا قبل ما نبدأ أي حاجة هنعمل plans, extensive planning for everything. اوكي، والبلانز هي اللي حتقود المشروع، يعني كل حاجه هنعملها في المشروع حتكون according to the plan. اوكي، في الاجايل ابروتش this is the modern approach. اوكي، بناء على الكاستمر نيدز حنحدد البروسيس، وزي ما بنعرف الكاستمر needs are always changing, so that's why we will meet with the customer regularly to get these changes and to reflect it to the product backlog زي ما هنشوف. Okay, and the coordination between the customer and the team will lead the project. The hybrid approach, which is a combined approach between زي ما شرحنا earlier, between predictive, right, وbetween agile. So when to use agile and when to use waterfall approach. طبعا القرار بيعتمد على حاجات كثير، بيعتمد على خبرة التيم وخبرة مدير المشروع في running agile approach، بيعتمد على نوع المشروع، بيعتمد على البوليسيز واستراتيجية ومنهجية الشركة نفسها. اوكي، ف all these factors you have to consider. يعتمد على الانفايرمنت اللي انت شغال عليها. في البي ام بي لو تذكروا دائما عندنا في انبوت رئيسي جدا بيكون معانا دائما اللي هو اسمه ايش؟ Enterprise Environmental Factors EEFs, right? So environment دي مهمة جدا to consider. So بشكل عام اوكي، البريدكتيف approach او الووترفول approach بيكون كويس وممكن تقدر تطبقه لو الريكوايرمنتس واضحة من الأول، من البداية الريكوايرمنتس كلها واضحة وكان be clearly defined من بداية المشروع، فتقدر تعمل planning عليها، تقدر تعمل cost estimation، تقدر تعمل time estimation، تقدر تعمل risk analysis، كل الحاجات دي تقدر تعملها من البداية. أوكي، إذا كان التكلفة أي تغيير بناء على مثلا معلومات خطأ اعتمدت عليها مع بناء على requirements جديدة هتكون عالية. اوكي، ال predictive approach is better because انت في البدايه بتجمع كل المعلومات، فغالبا التغييرات المتوقعه حتكون بسيطه. اوكي. طيب، اذا كان التواصل مع الكاستمر في limitations، ما تقدر تتواصل مع الكاستمر بشكل مستمر، اوكي، زي ما بيتطلب الاجايل، فممكن البريدكتيف ابروتش يكون افضل. اوكي. وطبعا دي بس يعني these are guidelines، ولكن في النهايه بيعتمد على تقدير مدير المشروع وتقدير الفريق والاورجنايزيشن which approach to follow. طيب الادابتيف ابروتش، اذا كانت الريكوايرمنتس مش واضحه من البدايه، اوكي we need to make an application، let's say application حجز تاكسي او سيارات زي اوبر مثلا او كريم، اوكي، بس we don't know exactly the details، ففي الحاله دي لا اجايل احسن عشان اي تغييرات بعدين اقدر to include it within the application. اوكي. اذا كان البيئه نفسها او طبيعه المشروع متغيره بشكل، والتكنولوجي والريكوايرمنتس بتتغير بشكل سريع، زي ما قلنا السوفت ويرز والابلكيشنز والحاجات دي تتغير بشكل سريع الانفايرمنت، فمهم جدا او من الاحسن من الافضل تكون شغال اجايل. اوكي. اذا كان الكاستمر متوفر او موجود ان انت تعمل معاه انتر اكشن، مستعد انه يجي كل اسبوعين يعمل ميتنج وتدسكس البروجكت، فthis could be one of the good points to start an agile project. Okay. And when there is a need to introduce value quickly، زي ما قلنا واحدة من مميزات الاجايل انه بيبدا يعطي الكاستمر يعني outputs بسرعة. بعد المشروع مثلا بشهر على طول الكاستمر اخذ let's say partial output، هو ما هياخذ الاوتبوت كله ولكن هياخذ partial output. هيبدا يحس بان المشروع فعلا في output من المشروع وانه بدا يستفيد منه. and this also will enhance، هينعكس على الفيدباك اللي هيديه الكاستمر. لما الكاستمر انت تتكلموا على ورق وتقول له السوفت وير هيعمل وهيعمل وهيعمل بس هو ما شاف حاجه، هيعطيك فيدباك يس، بس مش هيكون زي انه اعطيته سوفت وير او موديول من السوفت وير وبدا يجرب وبدا يشوف what's good what's not good what could be improved، فيعطيك more valuable feedback لانه فعلا هو عن تجربه. اوكي. خلينا let's discuss a very let's say important example. هنا هنتكلم عن application يعني صار جزء من حياتنا اليومية. اوكي. هنتكلم عن توكلنا. now application زي توكلنا it's يعني almost impossible to do it in a predictive way. لازم تعمله agile. ليه لازم تعمله agile؟ first of all لأنه generally بيئة الابلكيشنز والسوفت وير والبروجرامينج بتتغير وتتطور بشكل سريع. اوكي. دي اول حاجه. ثاني حاجه ان الابلكيشن جاء عشان يحل مشكله او جاء عشان مش يحل او تكنترول مشكله او يساعد في كنترول مشكله حصلت بسرعه ومشكله بتتطور بسرعه. اوكي. فمهم جدا، ما ينفع انا كديفلوبر اللي توكلنا مثلا اجي اقول والله لا احنا محتاجين سنه عشان ننزل الابلكيشن. العالم ما حيستناك سنه، السيتويشن اتس ان ايمرجنسي سيتويشن، ما حتستناك سنه. اوكي. الجفرمنت ما حتستناك سنه، فيو هاف تو ستارت ديليفرينج فاليو فاستر. فاوكي على طول خلاص اشتغلنا مثلا اسبوعين ثلاثه شهر، يمكن اقل من شهر حتى، اخوك نزلنا الابلكيشن في الفيتشرز الرئيسيه، اخذنا فيدباك من الكاستمر، شفنا الريكوايرمنتس الجديده، تطورات موضوع كورونا والمتطلبات العالميه ووزاره الصحه ومنظمه الصحه العالميه. اوكي. بدينا ناخذ الفيدباك تو انكلود ات within the application، ونزلنا فيرجن جديد من الابلكيشن. نعمل سبرنت جاي عشان نضيف موضوع مثلا الفاكسين، نعمل سبرنت جاي عشان نضيف موضوع العمره والتصاريح العمره والحج. اوكي. ف this is a typical example for agile approach. استحالة، هو مش استحالة، تقدر تعمله ولكن حتكون حكمت على المشروع بالفشل إذا عملته مثلا predictive approach. أوكي. But it has to be agile approach. So this is the main purpose or the main benefit of agile approach. Okay. فيمكن كلكم لاحظتوا التغييرات اللي بتحصل بسرعة في توكلنا، وتقدر تضيف وتقدر في صار عندك فيتشرز ما كانت موجودة في الأول. Okay. So Agile Project Management. Agile Project Management بدأ الكونسبت في الأساس بدأ في 1990s. اوكي. الاساس الكونسبت انه especially جماعه البروجرامينج والسوفت وير ديفلوبرز كانوا شايفين ان البريدكتيف والكلاسيك ابروتش فور مانجينج بروجكت از يعني بالنسبه لهم it's a headache, it's heavy, it's مش دايناميك بالطريقه اللي هم محتاجينها. اوكي. فبدوا يستعملوا ميثودز كانت زي السكرام والاكس بي اللي هو الاكستريم بروجرامينج. اوكي. والكامبان وكذا، دي كلها ميثودز اوريدي كانوا بدوا يستعملوها من التسعينات يمكن. في 2001 في فبراير 2001 اجتمع 17 واحد 17 of the main projects implementers using السكرام ويوزنج الاكستريم بروجرامينج، كلهم اجتمعوا في ريزورت كان اسمه سنو بيرد ريزورت. اجتمعوا عشان يناقشوا موضوع البروجكت مانجمنت وهاو تو كم اب وذ ابروتش يكون فيه مرونه اكثر ويكون فيه سهوله اكثر من الووتر فول ابروتش العادي. اوكي. وابروتش that can be flexible to do changes very quickly. اوكي. فكلهم ال 17 واحد دول كلهم اجتمعوا مع بعض وطلعوا حاجه اسمها الاجايل مانيفستو. الاجايل مانيفستو دي في 4 values اللي هي الاجايل values، 4 اجايل values، وعندنا 12 principles. اوكي. 12 principles. اوكي. في بدايه المانيفستو طلعوا يعني زي تصريح كان: We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to. Okay. These are the four values. You know. Yes. Okay. So these are the 4 values they come up with. Okay. So they said we favor individuals and interactions over processes and tools. We favor working software شغال بيديني النتيجة اللي أنا محتاجها over comprehensive documentation. يعني أنا ككاستمر أو كيوزر بالنسبة لي software شغال أحسن من set of papers. We favor customer collaboration over contract negotiation. بدل ما تضيع وقتك وتضيع وقت الكاستمر والتيم في negotiating the contract, is it part of the contract or is it not, and what extra cost? Yes, this is important to be negotiated, ولكن الأهم is to collaborate. تعاون مع الكاستمر عشان تطلع في النهاية output سليم. Okay. Responding to change over following a plan. إذا كان ال requirements are changing وإذا البروجكت حسب البلان اللي عملناها في الأول will no longer benefit the customer، فهيكون more valuable للكاستمر و much appreciated من ناحية الكاستمر is إنك to respond to change instead of to follow a plan عملتها قبل فترة وممكن not valid anymore. Okay. It's very important إنه هنا نركز إنه الجماعة قالوا yes we favor these points, but these points are also important. See, that is while there is a value in the items on the right, these items on the right, we value the items on the left more. Yani they didn't say that these items on the right are worthless or non-value. No, they said we still value the other items, but we value the items on the left more. Okay, so these are the 4 agile principles. Okay. Okay, so so here is these were the agile values. Sorry. Let me reshare. Okay, you all can see my screen, right? Okay, so these are the 4 values of agile. And notice here that they said customer collaboration. Okay, they didn't say coordination, and we'll see in the next slide. We'll see the difference between collaboration and coordination. Now, the 12 principles, 12 agile principles. Customer satisfaction, very important. Okay, welcoming change instead of resisting change. زي ما احنا متعودين عادة resisting change. No, welcoming change. Deliver frequently. بدل ما يستنى الكاستمر لنهاية المشروع to deliver something, no, you deliver frequently. كل شهر مثلا هيكون عندك delivery of let's say part of the product. Working together. Together يعني مين؟ Together يعني الكاستمر مع ال development team مع ال project team. Motivate team. مهم جدا to keep the team motivated. Face to face interactions. بدل ما الموضوع يكون emails ودocuments رايحة ودوكيمنت جاية. No, face to face communication is much easier, much more effective, okay, and faster. Okay. Constant pace good design simplicity. Constant pace إيقاع ثابت good design design ينفع الكاستمر. simplicity يكون في بساطة في الاوتبوت let's say في البرودكت في الديليفربل. that will not يعني sacrifice ال quality و requirements. okay, ولكن يؤدي الغرض المطلوب منه at the same time. self organization. teams are self organized مش محتاجين micro management. okay. And reflect and adjust. Reflect and adjust. Whatever you learn from this sprint, you reflect and adjust in the next sprint. Okay. So this how you will be flexible to accept and to adapt to any changes requested by the customer. Okay. This we didn't say. Working software. Yes, working software is more valuable than just a set of documents. لما تديني منتج او مخرج شغال في النهايه وبيعمل العمل المطلوب منه احسن لي من انك تديني some just bunch of documents. Okay, so زي ما قلنا هنا collaboration and coordination or cooperation. Okay, so cooperation التعاون حيكون بين different teams. يعني مثلا احنا كبروجكت حنتعاون مع سبلاير. السبلاير عنده objective انه يبيع right و get paid. واحنا عندنا objective انه البروجكت ينجح ونوصل للفاينل output. So this is cooperation. تعاون. هو عنده objective, their own objective, and we have our own objective. Okay. While and this is good for يعني waterfall approach. Collaboration لا collaboration محتاج تداخل أكثر. Collaboration is both teams will work for one objective together. يعني الobjective will serve the requirements for both teams at the same time. Okay, so this is good for agile projects. It's good لما يكون عندك supplier انت you consider them like strategic partner. شركاء استراتيجيين. اوكي هيكون عندنا هدف مشترك، نشتغل مع بعض، يكون في انتراكشن عالي بين الديفلوبمنت تيم والكاستمر والسبلاير عشان في النهايه نوصل لهدف واحد مشترك. مش كل واحد بس يحقق اهدافه من المشروع وخلاص he's not interested anymore. No. Okay. So this is the difference between collaboration and cooperation. عشان كده في المانيفستو قالوا ايه هنا؟ قالوا customer collaboration، ما قالوا cooperation. Okay. So بعد ما تكلمنا عن الاجايل principle وال let's say the main approach of agile, what are the benefits of implementing agile؟ طيب انا متعود على الطريقه العاديه الووتر فول ابروتش، احنا عملناها اكثر من مره ونجحت وخلصنا المشاريع. So what are the benefits of agile? First of all, faster to market. انت حتكون اسرع to deliver output، هيطلع عندك output faster. Okay, faster to the market. بتشوفوا مثلا let's say for example الموبايل فونز، ممكن يطلع ريليز، ابل مثلا طلعت ريليز او نيو مثلا فيرجن، سامسونج بعدها بشويه ممكن تنزل نيو ريليز. اوكي، مش بالضروره انه يكون ذا بيرفكت او احسن ريليز هم، ولكن it's just to be in the market, just to have the new release. بعدين ممكن نطلع عليه تحسينات، تعديلات في الابلكيشن، تعديلات في الاوبريتنج سيستم. Okay, but to be faster within the market. This is good for the customer and this is good for the company. Improvement in quality. كيف improvement in quality؟ لأنه في الأجايل زي ما شفنا في نهاية كل سبرنت أو كل increment بيجيني فيدباك من مين؟ بيجيني فيدباك من الكاستمر عشان أحسن نفسي في النكست سبرنت، فدائما أدائي حيكون بيتحسن باستمرار. Reduction in defects. Reduction in defects. كيف reduction in defects؟ العيوب تكون أقل أو تكاليف التصحيح تكون أقل، لأن الانتراكشن مع الكاستمر أعلى. أنا كل أسبوع أنا قاعد مع الكاستمر، كل أسبوعين أنا قاعد مع الكاستمر، فإذا في أي بروبلم، إذا في أي correction حيكون تأثيره أو the impact will be limited within يعني تعديل على شغل مثلا اسبوعين او شغل اسبوع او شغل 3 اسابيع، ف defects حتكون اقل. و customer satisfaction. الكاستمر حيكون satisfied more because it's less defects, so less time, less cost. Okay, better quality, better communication، و product في النهايه حيؤدي الغرض المطلوب منه، مش product ماشي بس حسب البلان ومعزول تماما عن الانفايرمنت وعن اي تغييرات في الانفايرمنت. ف this is good for the customer و faster delivery برضو this is good for the customer. Okay, so the benefits of Agile Project Management approach. The visibility of the project, or let's say وضوح المعلومات بين الفريق وبين الفريق والكاستمر. Okay, the visibility is almost stable. Okay, من بداية المشروع احنا عندنا visibility، احيانا بيكون visibility just 2 weeks، بيسموها 2 weeks ahead or 1 month ahead or look ahead. Yes, 1 month look ahead or 2 weeks look ahead. يعني انا شايف قدامي لحد اسبوعين او لحد شهر قدام. Okay, and this is shared between the team كله. في البروجكتس العادية لا، في احيانا الموظف او التيم ممبر في some lower levels within the project they don't have the visibility، بس التوب مانجمنت هم عندهم الفيزيبيليتي، عارفين البروجكت رايح وين، عارفين البروجكت وضعه كيف، بس some other levels they don't have this visibility، ما عندهم الوضوح في الرؤية دي، هو بس بيعمل الشغل المطلوب منه بس مش عارف المشروع كيف وضعه، مش عارف المشروع رايح وين. اوكي، ف this is one of the important. Adaptability. في الwaterfall approach you can adapt at the beginning of the project. Okay, at the beginning of the project, yes, you can adapt, but once you start the project, this adaptability will be limited. قدرتك على التكيف والتغير للمتغيرات أو استجابة للمتغيرات حتكون محدودة نوعا ما. ليه؟ لأنه المشروع already خلاص أنت you invested lots of time in planning for everything for المشروع. أوكي، فأي تغيير ممكن يكون costly، ممكن يكون مكلف جدا. غير كذا إنه أنت أصلا ما عندك interaction عالي مع الكاستمر، فممكن these change requests you will not receive it that frequent. وإنه زي ما قلنا it's the mindset for the normally يعني بشكل عام مش الكل في المشاريع العادية is to resist change، لأنه حاجة عملناها والكاستمر طالب تعديلات نرجع نعيد ونرجع نغير ونرجع نغير documentation نغير في المشروع. So this is a headache. Usually the project team resists these changes as long as they are within the scope وحسب المطلوب. Okay, while in the agile adaptability is high and remains constant within the project. As we said في المانيفستو قبل شفنا قبل شوية في 12 principles, they welcome changes. They welcome change. They actually encourage the customer to bring changes. زي ما هنشوف في الميتينجز بعدين. Okay, so this is a very important. حتى في حاجة while we are talking about the changes في الأجايل they say that we'll do the change at the last responsible moment. يعني هنأخر اللي هو ايش تنفيذ التغيير ده او تنفيذ المتغيرات على البروجكت الى اخر لحظه ممكنه. ليه الى اخر لحظه ممكنه؟ عشان اذا في اي تغييرات ثانيه اخذها معايا يعني مره واحده ويعني to implement these changes at the same time. Okay, as long as انه ما حاخر المشروع. This is the terminology we use a lot in Agile called the last responsible moment. طيب البزنس فاليو زي ما قلنا في البريدكتيف ابروتش الكاستمر حيبدا ياخذ فاليو في نهايه المشروع usually at the closing phase of the project والهاند اوفر. but في الاجايل بعد بدايه المشروع few weeks maybe 4 weeks or يعني 6 weeks he will start getting value. okay, فحيبدا يحس بقيمه المشروع. Okay, and they start, let's say, they could start making some profits or generating some profits out of these small products delivered. الريسك. طيب في predictive approach الريسك في بداية المشروع بتكون عالية. Okay, because uncertainty is high. وفي كل ما نقرب من نهاية المشروع تبدأ الريسك تقل إلى نهاية المشروع. في الاجايل ابروتش الريسك بتكون يس عاليه at the beginning ولكن بتقل بسرعه اكبر. يس بتقل بسرعه اكثر because as we said earlier any change يعني most of the change will just impact small parts within the project, will not impact the whole project. لانه في الاساس احنا مش شغالين على whole project، احنا شغالين على small sprints. okay, so the risk will be high at the beginning but will rapidly go down throughout the project. Okay, hope everything is good so far. Now here we need to correct some misconceptions about Agile. في بعض المفاهيم الخاطئة عن الأجايل يعني نتكلم فيها. أول حاجة Agile is a process. Agile is not a process. Agile is a mindset. هي طريقة لأداء العمل. Okay, so you still could have your regular process ولكن تعملها بأجايل way. تعملها بطريقة مرنة. to adapt تغير البروسيسز شوية، تغير المايند سيت للناس شوية إنه يكون عندهم مرونة لتقبل التغييرات and to adapt to changes. وبدل ما نبلان لفول بروجكت خلينا نبلان لإيش؟ ل once يعني smaller periods, if you call it sprint or iterations or whatever. Okay, Agile is not a silver bullet. It will not help you to يعني مشاكل أو مشاريع صعبة ومعقدة بس تقول طبق Agile خلاص الموضوع حيكون بسيط. لا, still it's a challenge because المشروع itself is challenging. فأجايل yes حيساعد وحيخليك عندك قدرة إنك to adapt to changes وحيخلي الكاستمر maybe more happier وحيكون في deliverables faster. ولكن if the مشروع is challenging then the مشروع is challenging. Okay, so you have to invest more time, you have to invest more effort even if you are implementing Agile. Agile implementations are documentsless. الأجايل شغل كذا كله شفهي كله بالتليفون وما في أي حاجة documented. No. في تتذكروا في البروجكت مانجمنت في واحد عندنا من المين inputs دائما بيكون عندنا واحد من المين inputs اللي هو اسمه OPA Organizational Process Assets. البوليسيز والبروسيجرز والسيستمز المطبقة داخل الأورجانيزيشن اللي أنت شغال فيها. فإذا الأورجانيزيشن عندها بوليسيز بتقول لك لازم ترسل إيميل أو لازم تبعت أو لازم تعبي فورم for any request مثلا change request or whatever. أوكي. ما ينفع تقول لا أنا ما حلتزم بالبوليسيز والبروسيجرز because I'm agile. لا. في النهاية في policies وفي procedures وأحيانا في regulations you have to implement. ف this is not one of the agile concepts. Sorry. Okay, the agile environment is chaotic and free of discipline. ما فيها التزام. كل واحد شغال على كيفه، كل واحد شغال على راحته. اوكي زي تذكروا قبل شوي قلنا self managed teams. التيمز كلهم بيديروا نفسهم بالطريقه اللي هم شايفينها صح وفوضى وما في حد عارف حاجه. لا. it's self managed team ولكن في supervision. في عندك actually في two. في عندك ال Scrum Master بيسموه أو التيم ليدر ممكن وفي البرودكت مانجر. الاثنين دول بيكونوا supervising the team. وزي ما شفنا في الثاني سلايد يمكن كان في الدائرة دي plan. اوكي plan و delegate. You delegate وبعدين to monitor. You have to always monitor. طيب agile teams don't design, plan or take upfront decisions. ولا بيعملوا ديزاين ولا بيعملوا بلان ولا بيعملوا حاجه شغالين كده ماشيه معاهم بس. Okay, this which is not true, doesn't make sense. Yes, we do plans في الاجايل, we do plans, we do designs, we do كل حاجه decisions ولكن الفرق الوحيد انها for shorter period. هتكون plan for 2 weeks, plan for 4 weeks مش اكثر. Okay, agile teams are constantly under pressure. which is صراحة العكس. لأنه زي ما هنشوف بعدين في عندنا ال daily scrum في عندنا حاجة اسمها daily scrum daily meeting between التيم كله. فالتيم كله عنده vision وعارف الوضع المشروع وكل واحد عارف الثاني شغال في إيه. ف this will relax التيم. هيكون في shared responsibility وكل واحد عنده confidence في ال other team members. Now, الحاجات الصحيحة about Agile, stability with flexibility. Yes, في استقرار ولكن في مرونة. Okay. Yes, it looks like التيمز are يعني ما عندهم كذا مش التيمز اللي قاعدين بس كل واحد قاعد على مكتبه وما بيتكلموا. لا دائما الأجايل environment هتلاقي فيها كلام وهتلاقي فيها صوت وهتلاقي فيها كذا تحس في noise. Okay. ولكن this is following order. يعني this is مش فوضى ولكن this is the system they are working. Okay. Execution with planning. في الأجايل زي ما قلنا إنه yes we plan for 2 weeks and we start executing. بعدين أثناء execution okay we adapt and we change and we replan for the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks. So 2 things and this is تتذكروا كان يعني similarly حاجة زي الفاست تراكينج. الاكزكيوشن والبلاننج بيحصلوا في نفس الوقت. اوكي. وال deliver value faster. Yes, the predictive approach will deliver value eventually at the end of the project. Yes, but Agile will deliver value faster. اوكي في كلمتين هنا يعني شبيهين ببعض شويه واحيانا بيكون في confusion. Agile و Agility. اوكي Agility احنا بنتكلم على organization كلها يكون عندهم let's say يكون عندهم مرونة flexibility to respond to environment changes. يعني الشركة كلها يكون عندها مرونة ويكون عندها قابلية to respond to التغييرات أو أنها تستجيب للتغييرات الخارجية في البيئة، في الاقتصاد، في العوامل السياسية كلها محيطة بالأورجانيزيشن دي. فكل ما كان الأورجانيزيشن دي بتتجاوب بسرعة وبتتحرك بسرعة كل ما كانت عندها اجيلتي عالية. اوكي كل ما كانت الأورجانيزيشن بتاخذ مدة طويلة جدا عشان تبحث وعشان تقيم وعشان اللجنة تشوف وعشان اللجنة تبث وعشان اللجنة مش عارف ايه فthis is low agility. انت ممكن يكون عندك انت شغال في اورجانيزيشن اوكي يعني مثلا شغال في يعني في اغلب الدول القطاع الحكومي دائما ما بيكون بمرونة القطاع الخاص. شغال مثلا في جهة حكومية او في وزارة او جهة حكومية التغيير فيها بطبيعة الحال ما حيكون سريع لانه في يعني في انفولف في اطراف كثير انفولف في الموضوع. في وزاره وفي وزير وفي مجلس وزراء وفي دوله وفي حكومه وفي قوانين وفي انظمه فما ينفع يلا نغير كده ما تمشي. اوكي ولكن so this is low agility right. ولكن within this organization او داخل القطاع دي او الجهه الحكوميه دي اللي فيها low agility ممكن يكون في department let's say الاي تي department اوكي شغال باجايل ابروتش وعنده flexibility عاليه وعنده عنده مرونه عاليه انه to respond to changes ويستجيب للتغييرات ويطبق التغييرات بدون اي مشاكل. اوكي so the agile approach itself can be its approach, it's a methodology, can be implemented anywhere. So this is the difference between agile and agility. Agility is for the whole organization to change, while agile for this specific project within the organization. طيب الاجايل framework الفريم او الاطار الاساسي for the agile. عندنا different types of agile frameworks. تتذكروا عندنا ال 12 principle ال 12 principles اللي هي كانت في المانيفستو رايت. اوكي سو عندنا زي ما بدينا في لما تكلمنا عن الاجايل وكيف بدا في ميثودز اوريدي كانت مطبقه زي السكرام وزي الاكس بي اللي هي الاكستريم بروجرامينج والكامل. كل دي كانت ميثودز مطبقه عشان الاي تي تيمز والجماعه اللي بيشتغلوا على سوفت ويرز وابلكيشنز وكذا يكون عندهم مرونه اعلى. اوكي so these are the main let's say approaches كانوا. these are the practices used within the different organizations. Okay so these practices الاجايل عمل لها ايه؟ الاجايل will just يعني عمل لهم كذا ايش زي فريم ورك او عمل لهم حدود او عمل لهم اطار عمل اللي هي عن طريق ال 12 برنسبل. ال 12 برنسبل اللي تكلمنا عنهم في المانيفستو they will just guide the practices within these different approaches. These approaches are يعني they are very much similar يعني في اختلافات بسيطة بينهم ولكن أكثر واحد مستعمل وأكثر واحد مطبق اللي هو سكرام. حتى في شهادة اسمها سكرام ماستر. Okay so we'll talk mainly about Scrum this approach. وبعد ما نتكلم عن السكرام ان شاء الله بعدين اذا رحت شفت اذا بعدين قريت عن اكستريم بروجرامينج او الكانبان هتلاقي فيه تشابه كثير وهتلاقي الامور ابسط كثير. Okay, so these are the different types of agile frameworks. في الاجايل عندنا واكشلي في البروجكتس كلها عندنا some pillars، ركائز اساسيه، يعني نقاط اساسيه هنعتمد عليها. عندنا البيبل والبروسيس والتكنولوجي، رايت؟ عندنا البيبل الاشخاص، البيبل تشمل طبعا الكل، تشمل البروجكت مانجر، تشمل التيم، تشمل الكاستمر، الستيك هولدرز، اوكي، كلهم جزء مهم في نجاح المشروع. اوكي، وعندنا البروسيس، the process that you will implement, how you will implement the process, what's the approach you will follow. Okay, so this is the another pillar. Okay, where do you get the process from? You get the process from the organization itself, from the customer, maybe if it's a customer requirement. Okay, so these are the main sources of process or if there is any, let's say, regulations or something. And the technology, what the technology or the tools you will use to implement this process. Softwares, any applications you will use, any machines or IT instruments you will use that will help you to achieve your objective. Okay, so these are the agile framework pillars. ولكن لو شفت هتلاقي انه these are the pillars for any مشروع. اي مشروع انت محتاج people ومحتاج process ومحتاج technology to implement that project. Okay, so if we start with Scrum, which is the main example we'll be talking about in detail. Okay, so the Scrum, which is one of the agile frameworks, the Scrum has some activities, had some documents, and had some people involved in implementing a Scrum methodology. Okay, we'll discuss all these components in details. Like we have the sprint retro, we have the sprint review, we have the sprint planning. Okay, we have the daily Scrum, the people involved, we have the Scrum Master, we have the product owner, the development team, definition of done, the product backlog, the sprint backlog. Okay, so all these things we'll discuss within this few slides. Okay, the Scrum framework was introduced at the beginning by an engineer called Ken Schuber in 1995, and this Ken Schuber was one of the 17 people who met in 2001 to introduce or to come up with the Agile principle or Agile manifesto. Okay, so this is the Scrum. Now, what's the Scrum? Scrum is a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems. Complex, okay? Complex. Adaptive problems. Problem فيها changes which needs adapting very frequently. Okay? While productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. Okay? في نفس الوقت, we are producing products, okay, with the highest possible value. Okay, and also, as we said earlier, in the shortest possible time. حتى لو مش ال complete product, even like a small or part of the product usable, that can be delivered as soon as possible. Okay, so Scrum is lightweight. Lightweight يعني it's سهل خفيف في مرونة عشان أطبقه ينفع التطبيق في بيئة is rapidly changing. Okay, simple to understand, doesn't require lots of processes and documentation like the waterfall approach. Okay, as it's one of the principles, if you remember, working software over extensive documentation. Okay, but it's still difficult to master. Yes, it's good, it's light, it's simple to understand, but to master the Scrum methodology could be a bit difficult or needs more practice. Okay, so it's mainly it's a framework for managing complex product development issues where the product is developed in let's say highly changing environment. Okay, keep in mind that Scrum is not a process or technique for building products. هو مش process or technique for building products. ولكن it's a framework, okay, within which you can employ various processes and techniques. هو إطار، هو framework، okay، هو بيعطيك بس الإطار العام، guidance for developing or implementing your project. Okay, so عندنا أكثر من main component within the Scrum. عندنا people زي ما قلنا، وعندنا events، وعندنا artifacts or documents. ثلاث حاجات رئيسية في السكرام هنتكلم عنها. Okay. So في السكرام عندنا pillars. Scrum pillars. الأعمدة الرئيسية للسكرام. First of all, transparency. Transparency. We all know what's going on. Okay. لو تتذكروا لما في السلايدز اللي بيفور لما قارنا في الفيزيبيليتي، تذكروا لما قارنا بين البريدكتيف والاجايل، قلنا ان الفيزيبيليتي في الاجايل is better because we plan for a shorter period and everyone is involved. فيكون في عندنا transparency او visibility احسن. Okay, and this هنشوف الترانسبيرنسي and we all know what's going on. من وين بتجي؟ كيف انا هعرف زميلي الثاني شغال في ايه؟ وين وصل؟ ايه الحاجات اللي عنده حيشتغل عليها؟ ايه الحاجات اللي خلصها؟ دي هنشوفها في while discussing the events. Inspection. We check our work as we do it. دائما نعمل check. دائما to make sure that everything is correct. So inspection is one of the main pillars of Scrum. And actually it's one of the main pillars of developing any project. يعني لو تتذكروا في project management في PMP كان عندنا phase اسمه monitoring and controlling, right? Monitoring and controlling. ولو تتذكروا برضو monitoring and controlling كان بيغطي أي phase within the project. كان بيغطي planning ولا initiating ولا execution ولا closing. Actually كان بيغطي لو تتذكروا كل phases من أول initiating لحد closing كلها under monitoring and controlling. Okay, which is kind of inspection or part of the inspection. So inspection is very important for any project. You cannot deliver any output before inspection. وadaptation. Adaptation اللي هو ايش؟ التغييرات. It's fine to change. ما في أي مشكلة إن العميل يغير رأيه، إن الrequirements تتغير، إن objectives of the product تتغير شوية. ما في أي مشكلة. It's part of the project. Changes are part of the project. And as we said earlier, the Agile team actually they welcome change. Okay, so these are the Scrum pillars. ثلاثة pillars الرئيسية للسكرام: transparency والinspection والadaptation. Okay. Now the Scrum Framework. زي ما قلنا عندنا 3 حاجات رئيسية، في عندنا ال people، وفي عندنا ال events، وفي عندنا ال documents أو ال artifacts. Okay. ال people أو ال roles، يعني إذا مش هنتكلم عن أشخاص positions أو مسميات وظيفية. في عندنا events، وفي عندنا ال documents أو ال artifacts. ال3 مع بعض هم بيكونوا ال Scrum practice. السكرام كله بيتكون من ال3 حاجات دي الرئيسية. اوكي. سو لو تكلمنا عن roles او البوزيشنز او البيبل، عندنا product owner. هنتكلم عن كل واحد منهم. We'll talk about each one of these in details and what are their roles and responsibilities. Okay. The product owner, Scrum Master, the Scrum Master, with development team, the project team. Okay. So the development team is managed by the Scrum Master, and there's a communication between the Scrum Master and the product owner. Okay. Usually the product owner, let's say, represents the customer point of view or the customer requirements, or he makes sure that the customer requirements are covered within the project, okay, or within the deliverable. So these are the main people. The documents, will come back to the events. Let's start with the artifacts or the documents. And then a product backlog, will sprint backlog, will potentially تتذكروا المصطلح ده اتكلمنا عنه قبل شوية. Potentially shippable product increment. Potentially shippable product، يعني product ممكن انت تعمل له shipping وتبعته للكاستمر. Okay. So this is one of the مميزات الاجايل، انه في مختلف مراحل المشروع حيكون في عندك حاجات تقدر تعمل لها shipping للكاستمر، تبعتها للكاستمر to start using it for their benefit or for their process. Okay. طيب events، عندنا lots of events within Scrum. أول حاجة عندنا السبرنت. السبرنت اللي هي we say that the Scrum project consists of different sprints. Sprint like jump or قفزة يعني أو خطوة. Okay. So each sprint usually it's يعني from 2 to 6 weeks maximum. Usually it's يعني about 4 weeks. يعني 2 to 4 weeks, but maximum 6 weeks. Okay. So this is the sprint. This is our sprint. Our sprint now, this will be defined at the beginning of the project, that our sprint is 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. This is our sprint. Then we have the sprint planning. Sprint planning. شوف هناك كان في البريدكتيف في عندنا البروجكت بلان. project plan. لا هنا احنا ما عندنا project. هنا عندنا sprint. So sprint planning. بس بنعمل plan just for this sprint. This plan will be changed in the next sprint. Okay. كل sprint هيكون عنده plan مختلفة حسب requirements وحسب الفيدباك. عشان كده حتى it's good practice to adapt simple templates و simple documents. يعني ما يكون عندك السبرنت بلان مثلا خلينا نقول 60 70 80 صفحة، وكل اسبوعين محتاج to redo it again and again and again. This will be a headache. فكل ما كان الموضوع simple, which is one of the principles, simplicity. Okay. كل ما كان الموضوع simple، كل ما كان document simple but deliver value، كل ما كان اسهل للتيم. عندنا الديلي سكرام. هنتكلم عن الديلي سكرام. شوف ديلي كل يوم في انتراكشن عالي في الاجايل. اوكي. سبرنت اكزكيوشن، تنفيذ السبرنت نفسه، السبرنت اللي تكلمنا عنه اول واحد. So here we will execute the sprint and we will execute the plan, the sprint plan, and we will implement the sprint plan. Now, after execution, we usually do review. We call it sprint review. Okay. We'll discuss this. What will be discussed in this review? Who will be there as well? Okay, we'll talk about this. Sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is very important for, if you remember, in some previous slides, we said one of the benefits of Agile is better quality. Okay, and we said that a better quality because we are always improving. Okay, we are always getting feedback and improving ourselves in the next sprint. So this is sprint retrospective. We collect lessons learned during these 2 weeks, during these 4 weeks, and we reflect them in the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Okay, we reflect them in the next sprint. So it will add value. It will add value continuously to our team and to our project and customer eventually. Product backlog grooming. Product backlog is one of the artifacts. See here, product backlog is one of the documents, one of the main documents within the Scrum. But here it comes as an event, not a document. Product backlog grooming or enhancing, okay, or cleaning, let's say, rearranging, reprioritizing, you call it whatever you want, okay? Product backlog grooming. We will discuss the product backlog and what are the contents in the product backlog and why do we need to do grooming or we need to reprioritize the list within the product backlog. We'll discuss this in the next few slides. Okay, so welcome back and we'll proceed with this material. So, okay, before the break, we stopped in the main components of the Scrum. We talked about the people, we talked about the the events, and we talked about the documents, right? Okay, so let's talk in details about these components. So the sprint itself, as we said, that the sprint is the how long you will be for how long you will be working or you will be planning. Let's say, and we said that could be like 2 weeks, could be like 4 weeks, right? 6 weeks, whatever. Okay, so this is the sprint duration. Okay, we call the there's a terminology we always use in Scrum. It's called the time boxed activity. The sprint is a time boxed activity. Time boxed, it's limited with time. Any activity we do should be time boxed. That the activities we'll do during this, let's say during this sprint, are boxed or are limited within let's say 14 days or whatever. We have to finish within this date. If there is an activity that will require more than this, we can move it to the next sprint, let's say. Okay, but we have to finish. We cannot keep extending the sprint itself to adapt the activities. No, the sprint has to finish within its time box. Okay, so now depends on the nature of and the size of your project. Your project could be in different number of sprints, maybe 10 sprints, 20, 30, 40, whatever number of sprints, depends on the nature of project, the complexity, the difficulty of the project, the nature of product itself. Okay, so the bigger the project, the higher the number of sprints you will be using. Okay. Okay, so the roles or the main people within the Scrum. We said we have the product owner, we have the Scrum master or the coach, and we have the development team. Okay. Now, the product owner receives all requirements from the customer right? Not only from the customer. Received all requirements from all stakeholders. This is very important to make sure that all stakeholders are, the requirements of all stakeholders are collected. Okay, if you are developing, let's say, a product, now, so you have to document or collect the requirements of the customer itself. You have to collect the requirements for maybe the government, the related government sector. Could be the Ministry of Interior, could be the Ministry of Health, could be the Saudi FDA, could be the Saudi Standards Organization, SASO, whatever. Okay, depends on your project. So you collect the requirements from different stakeholders. This is the main job of the product owner. The product owner is the interface between the project and the customer. Okay, so the product owner collect requirements from different stakeholders, analyze requirements, let's say combine some similar requirements, maybe negotiate with some stakeholders to cancel some requirements, to balance these requirements. We always in the project management say that one of the very important skills the main important skills for the project manager is to balance competing requirements. انك تعرف توازن بين متطلبات متضاربة او عكس بعض. كيف يعني متطلبات عكس بعض؟ يعني مثلا الكاستمر حيطلب، عادة الكاستمر يحب احسن كواليتي. اوكي، ممكن يكون حابب يستعمل ماتيريال معينة مثلا في البرودكت. تروح للجفرمنت، تيجي وزارة التجارة تقول لك لا، الماتيريال دي ممنوعة مثلا. اوكي، او وزارة الصحة مثلا تقول الكومبوننت دي مثلا ممنوع تستخدمه. فthese are competing requirements. كيف تعرف توازن بينهم؟ You have to negotiate with the customer عشان تقنعه انك تستعمل مثلا ماتيريال ثاني او كومبوننت ثاني. نفس الكلام ممكن يكون بين ستيك هولدر وستيك هولدر. لو في سبونسر مثلا، لو في حد بيمول المشروع، السبونسر حابب ينزل التكاليف، والكاستمر محتاج مثلا او طالب كواليتي عاليه، ف يعني ما حيمشوا مع بعض. You have to negotiate مع السبونسر شويه، مع الكاستمر شويه. المهم you have to reach to an agreement between all stakeholders. فده دور البرودكت اونر، هيروح يتناقش معاهم، يعمل المهم to come up with a list of final requirements. حلو؟ هياخذ الفاينل requirements، يروح يوديها لمين؟ يروح يوديها للديفلوبمنت تيم. الديفلوبمنت team is managed by a Scrum Master. Okay, so the Scrum Master هو اللي بيشرف على التيم and to make sure that the requirements of the product owner are covered and to make sure that the Agile or the Scrum principles are implemented. تمام؟ هو بيعمل facilitation، بيفاسيليتيت الكوميونيكيشن لو في أي مشاكل. فدي الحاجات الأساسية اللي بيعملها. Okay, حنتكلم عنهم بعدين بالتفصيل. Okay, so these are the stakeholders. طبعا stakeholders اللي هم كل الأشخاص اللي داخلين في المشروع. وفي عندنا تعريف للستيك هولدرز رايت في البين بوك. عندنا تعريف للستيك هولدرز: any person, group, persons, organizations, those are actively involved in the project and may affect the project positively or be affected by the project positively or negatively, right? هذا تعريف الستيك هولدرز. اوكي، طيب. So دور البرودكت اونر is to maximize the value and manage and monitor progress of the product goals. زي ما قلنا هو بيمثل الكاستمر. دائما لما نخلص حاجه يجي البرودكت اونر يشوفها، يتاكد انه كل الريكوايرمنتس اللي جمعها من الستيك هولدرز كلها satisfied within this output. The goal of a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master, to ensure the use of Scrum and skills, okay, and remove impediments. يساعد التيم، يشيل أي عوائق للتيم، facilitate the process، يسهل لهم شغلهم، يسهل لهم حياتهم، و ensure the use of Scrum and skills to make sure that they implement the Scrum and Agile skills and principles. Okay. The development team هو فريق التطوير، هو فريق project, let's say project team, you can say project team. The main purpose of the project team is to build the product, increment and manage and monitor progress of the sprint. See here لو تلاحظ في الكلام هنا build the product increment، ما قال البرودكت كله، بس البرودكت increment، لأن احنا بناخذها increment by increment أو sprint by sprint أو يعني نقطة جزئية. Okay. So build the product increment. Okay. لأنه ممكن in some projects each increment or يعني some increments maybe will be assigned to different group حسب تخصصهم. ممكن في increment معين جزئية تحتاج واحد، تحتاج تيم مثلا عنده knowledge في أو skill معينة. So this increment only will be handled by that team. Okay. So build the product increment and manage and monitor progress of age for the project. لا دائما في الاجايل وفي السكرام احنا our span هو is sprint، مش البروجكت كله ولكن just sprint. اوكي سو هنا تكلمنا عن البرودكت اونر والسكرام ماستر والديفلوبمنت تيم. طيب هنا حنتكلم عن الايفنتس. تتذكروا كان عندنا ميني ايفنتس، كان عندنا الديلي سكرام والسكرام بلاننج والباكلوج جرومينج. اوكي صح؟ كان عندنا lots of events. So في السبرنت عندنا أول ما جمعنا requirements from the left here. Okay, let me start. Okay, here. Once we collected the requirements from the stakeholders كلهم وتناقشنا معاهم ووصلنا النيغوشيشنز ووصلنا السيتلمنت بحيث انه خلاص اي requirement مش يعني ما لها داعي شلناها، اي requirements متضاربين مع بعض we balance them. المهم في النهايه وصلنا لايه؟ list of final requirements. list of final requirements في البرودكت بنسميها ايش؟ product backlog. البرودكت backlog بيكون list of all the requirements for the product. البرودكت لازم يكون فيه كده ولازم يكون فيه كده ولازم يكون فيه functionality, this functionality, this feature, this. Okay, so these are all the things that we need to build. Okay, for the sprint we will take maybe one or two of them. Okay, and we will start planning. We will plan to achieve these 2 points, first 2 points. Okay, so هنعمل ايش؟ هنعمل sprint planning. So the sprint backlog we will include only these 2 points اللي هم نفسهم these 2 points. This is the sprint backlog. The backlog not for the product, just for the sprint. Okay, so عندي هنا one of the activities or the events is sprint planning. Sprint planning عادة بيكون within التيم كله بيعمل planning for the next sprint. Okay, كل ما كانت مدة السبرنت أطول كل ما كان مدة البلاننج activity أطول. يعني مثلا you will plan for 2 weeks ممكن let's say 20 minutes is enough. But if you will plan for 6 weeks you have to give more time. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, sorry, it does make sense. Yeah. Okay, so this is the sprint backlog which is a document. This is not an activity, it's a document. Okay, بعدين عندنا السبرنت نفسها، السبرنت اكزيكيوشن. هنا عملنا السبرنت نفسها. نفذنا السبرنت، نفذنا الاكتيفيتيز اللي هي كانت موجوده وين؟ في البلان. اوكي، طلع عندنا increment، طلع عندنا output. during this sprint اللي هي مدتها زي ما قلنا ممكن ممكن مدتها تكون say 2 to 6 weeks. Okay, during this sprint every day, every single day we will conduct something called daily scrum. daily scrum كل يوم الصباح كده بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يلا daily scrum meeting. daily scrum meeting بيكون very brief, very quick meeting. Okay, let's say for 10-15 minutes maximum. Okay, هيكون التيم كله موجود. Okay, usually it's a stand-up meeting، مش meeting وكراسي ونجيب قهوة ونجيب سنابل السلام ومعجنات وكذا، لا ما في. Okay, it's just a stand-up meeting. بسرعة كل واحد بيدي brief. What are the things they completed? What are the things they are working in or حيشتغلوا عليها باقي اليوم؟ اوكي، اذا كان في اي challenges، اذا كان في اي عوائق في المشروع. تمام؟ This is the daily scrum. بعدين حنعمل sprint review. sprint review بعد ما عملنا، شوف السبرنت ريفيو وين ظهر؟ بعد ما طلعنا الانكريمنت، يعني بعد ما طلعنا البرودكت for this sprint، مش البرودكت النهائي، just this small product. اوكي، سبرنت ريفيو حيكون مين موجود فيه؟ حيكون موجود فيه الكاستمر. حيكون موجود فيه مين ممثل الكاستمر برضه؟ اوكي، يكون موجود فيه البرودكت اونر، هيكون موجود فيه السكرام ماستر، هيكون موجود فيه التيم. تمام؟ كلهم حيعرضوا اتس لايك ا ديمو، بيعرضوا الاوتبوت اللي طلعوه او البرودكت اللي طلعوه، والكاستمر will give feedback والريفيw will give feedback will sign off، خلاص يعتمدوا عشان يبدوا يشتغلوا على السبرنت الجايه او على الريكويرمنت الجايه. اوكي، ف this is the sprint review. sprint review is a very important meeting بيكون مع الكاستمر او الستيك هولدرز يعني بشكل عام، وبناخذ فيه فيدباك مهم جدا من الكاستمر. اوكي، و السبرنت ريفيو زي ما قلنا بناخذ فيدباك and this feedback we will reflect it على السبرنت الجاي في الايش؟ في السبرنت ريتروسبكتيف. تكلمنا عنه قبل شويه، قلنا انه في lessons learned في المشاريع البريدكتيف، في نهايه المشروع بنجمع الليسونز learned وبندرسها عشان نستفيد في المشروع الجاي. لا، هنا بنجمع الليسونز learned وبندرسها عشان نستفيد في السبرنت الجاي اللي هو بعد اسبوعين. اوكي، خلصنا this sprint, we finished this sprint and the customer is happy with the increment or this product. Okay, now we will have to work on the next set of items within the product backlog. Okay, could be this. Notice that the items in the product backlog will be arranged in and prioritized in order. So the most important, the lowest, lower important to the least important. Okay, and we always rearrange items within the product backlog as per the changes of the customer or the environment or the regulations maybe. Okay, so دائما الايتمز في البرودكت باكلوج دائما تكون لايف، على طول يحصل لها تحديث، حاجات تنشال، حاجات تتحط. اوكي، نعيد ترتيبها، حاجه كان ترتيبها تحت لا محتاجينها فوق، محتاجينها بسرعه. اوكي، ف this is the product backlog اللي هو الريفرنس الرئيسي في المشروع عندي. اخلص البرودكت باكلوج انا خلصت المشروع. اوكي، سوري السلايد لخبطت كثير بس خلينا. اوكي، now let's go to the hopefully وضحنا الاكتيفيتيز كلها واضحه، حنشوفها بعدين هنا. yes, so the sprint planning is meeting between the product owner, the scrum team to plan and agree on the upcoming sprint عشان نخطط للسبرنت الجايه. The daily Scrum is a 15 minutes stand-up meeting between the Scrum team to discuss progress. Okay. لاحظ الديلي سكرام هو مش meeting it's not a progress meeting للمانجمنت عشان المدير يعرف انت خلصت ايه وشغال في ايه وايه عندك. No, this is okay. This can be achieved through the meeting, but this is not the main purpose of the meeting. The main purpose of the meeting is to make everyone within the team align ويعرف كل واحد يكون عارف الثاني شغال في ايه. كل واحد يكون عارف البروجرس in different elements within the project. Okay, زي ما قلنا transparency is high. Okay, so I know لو أنا شغال في جزئية معينة وفيها any change, I know who is the person to be communicated or اللي شغله حيتأثر لأنه هو متعلق يعني شغل متعلق بالشغل اللي أنا بعمله مثلا. Okay, so this is the daily Scrum. Sprint review. Sprint review شوف هنا كاتب لك ايش demo. Sprint review is a meeting, okay, between the Scrum team, the product owner, and business team to demo the product. The business team اللي هو يعني let's say sales and marketing or the representative of the owner or the customer. Okay, to demo the product عشان to present the product and to give them a demo or to provide them with a demo. نعمل لهم demo على البرودكت كيف هيشتغل, what are the functionalities, what are the new features. So they will let's say accept it or give some feedbacks or request some changes. Okay, so this is the sprint review. خلصنا sprint review, أخذنا feedback من الكاستمر, نرجع مع بعض احنا internally, so meeting between Scrum team to continually improve the practice. This is the sprint retrospective. بعد ما خلصنا الميتنج مع البرودكت اونر والكاستمر والبزنس team, نرجع ناخذ الفيدباك and to reflect, to make sure that we use this feedback and we reflect it to the next planning cycle. Hello? The product backlog grooming. It's periodic activity led by the product owner to clean the backlog. Okay, this is the backlog, right? The product backlog grooming, yani we add maybe some items to the backlog. We change the order of items within the backlog. Maybe we remove items from the backlog because they are no more, let's say, useful or needed. Okay, so this is the product backlog grooming. Okay, so these are the main events within the Scrum activity. Now the artifacts or the documents. Okay, we have the product backlog. زي ما قلنا ال product backlog is a list of all requirements of all stakeholders. Okay, so this is the product backlog, user story number 1 or requirement number 1, requirement number 2, requirement 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. Okay, see, as we said earlier, that the items within the backlog are in importance order. Item number 1 is more important at this time. Maybe later on, due to some changes, maybe it will be less important. We'll move it maybe to the down, to the bottom of the list. Okay, so item number 1 is more important than item number 3 or 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so the product backlog is a list of all the requirements for the customer or stakeholders or we call it the business values, the business value of the customer or the stakeholders. Okay, so this is the product backlog. Now, you notice here that we didn't say requirement, we said user story. Okay, the user story is a very good way in collecting the requirements. We will discuss the user story just shortly. Okay, so the product backlog is a list of all features required for the complete product. Okay, and for each sprint we select, let's say, feature number 1, feature number 3, we'll do it in this sprint. Feature number 2 and feature number 7, we'll do it in the next sprint. Okay, so we come up with the sprint backlog, right? And we need to define something very important, which is the definition of done. When we say done, what does it mean? So, and I'm sure, and this was a discussion point in some of the meetings you attended. يعني في البروجرس ريبورت مثلا تلاقي واحد عامل done وبعدين جنبها كاتب note 70%. طيب كيف done وكيف 70%؟ اوكي، سو ممكن انا done افهم done يعني خلاص finished والكاستمر approved واخذنا فلوسنا وكل حاجه. اوكي، واحد ثاني انا يعني from another perspective maybe done means that the design is done, design approved. Done means that testing is done. So we have to agree what's the definition of done. What when we say done, what does it mean? Okay, this is very important to agree from the beginning and to document this from the beginning. Okay, so usually things are maybe not started, 0%, in progress, also 0% finished. It's not finished yet, it's 0% finished. Okay, or done 100% finished. Okay, as we said, 70% done, 80% done. This could be confusing sometimes. And in my just previous project, this was one of the let's say points discussed by the client, that some of the team members, they're reporting done and then remarks column. Yeah, right. The remarks column always has something waiting for, let's say, approval, waiting for parts or whatever. So this is not done. Okay, so we need to establish the definition of done. The team has to establish the definition of done and to agree with this with the customer and the product owner, right? So whenever we say done, this means so and so and so. Okay, this is the definition of done. Very important. Okay, so we said that we will talk about the user stories. Now the user story, when I was describing this slide, I said requirement number 1. I didn't say user story number 1, because user stories, they reflect requirements, as we will see here. So requirements engineering, how to collect the requirements and how to engineer these requirements. Sometimes it's hard for the customer to tell you exactly what they need. Sometimes they don't know what they need exactly. They cannot describe it in an, let's say, understandable way. So one of the things to use are the user stories. User story, you give them a card, okay, let's say A3 size paper, okay, or sorry, A5 size paper, okay, or cards, small cards, flashcards. And they are requested to write their user stories. The user story will look like this. As a, okay, he has to write here, we'll see examples. He has to write here what's his position. Like, say, for example, as an HR manager, I want so and so, okay? So as a game player, I want so and so. As a let's say, general manager, I want so and so, okay? So, because, you know, the needs of every position is different. So as a user role, I want, what are the requirements, okay? So that What are the benefits? If we give you these requirements in the second line, so what are the benefits you will get? Okay. So if we give you this, what are the benefits you will get out of this? Okay. So the user stories focus on user needs. Okay. And they build conversation between the product owner and the development team. It will be like the discussing point or material between the development team and the product owner. The product owner wants to satisfy this. Okay, the product owner wants to satisfy this because it's one of the requirements of the customer. Okay, and the development team has to come up with ways to satisfy this requirement. Okay, so this will be the main reference. Okay, so if we go to the here, for example, let's say, yeah. Okay, these are some examples of user stories. See the first one. Okay, as a user, I want to manage attendance. Could be as an HR manager. I want to manage attendance. Okay, now this is incomplete. Here we cover the position, and here we cover the requirement. So what's the benefit? If we provide you with a tool to cover the attendance, what will be the benefit? So I can calculate the, let's say, the salary correctly. Okay, now this makes sense. So you want the feature of attendance management. So your main task of let's say calculating the salary or the pay rate will be accurate and easy. So this is a user story. Now this user story will go to the development team, so they will see. Now this HR manager wants to manage attendance to be able to calculate the salary correctly. So maybe they will propose another way that will make the calculation of the salary correctly without maybe the attendance management. If this is the only purpose of attendance management is to calculate salary. Okay, so the development team will propose different scenarios or different alternative solutions to achieve this user story and to make it done. Okay, here as an employee, so this is the position. I want to view attendance in order to submit missing vacations. Okay, أنا كموظف I want to view attendance. Okay, so this is the requirement to view attendance. لحد هنا. طيب, if you are able to view attendance على system or online, what's the benefit? So I can report, let's say, أجازة, أيام الأجازة, I can report it, or I can submit missing vacations. As a manager, what are the requirements for the manager? As an HR specialist, what are the requirements? Okay, so these are different requirements for different users. See, each stakeholder or each user, they have different requirements. And you need to satisfy all these requirements. You need to satisfy all these. All these you need to satisfy, okay, to make sure that everyone is happy and your product or your output satisfies or helps everyone to achieve their objectives. Good. So these are the user stories. Now, these user stories will build the product backlog, as we saw earlier, right? See here, the product backlog is built from some user stories. Okay, now in arranging these user stories, we have something called epic and theme. Okay, the theme is the overall umbrella of the let's say the user stories, all the user stories are talking about attendance management, right? In the previous example. So this is the theme. Okay, this is the main thing that we need here. We are talking about attendance management. This is the main theme. Okay. Now, attendance could have two parts. Could have, let's say, the financial part here. Let's say this is the financial part, and this is the, let's say, the vacation part, or yeah, vacation part. Okay. So we call these epics. So each theme could include number of epics. This is the theme includes these two epics, and each epic includes different number of user stories. Okay, so if you are talking here about the money, we are talking here about the money for the attendance or related to the attendance. Maybe there are two user stories are talking about the money. Here, if we are talking about the days, the number of days, okay, so maybe there are three user stories talking about this feature. Okay, so this is the general hierarchy. It will be user stories. We will categorize a group of user stories under epics, different epics. Okay, and all these epics will be under theme. Okay, you could have different themes, like this is we're talking about the attendance. Maybe something else we're talking about the, let's say, the performance or whatever. Okay, so different themes. Each theme will have different epics. Each epic will have different user stories. Okay. Yes. So the release and planning. The release and planning. We at the beginning of the project, we met with the customer, we met with the stakeholders. Okay, we gather all the requirements. We let's say agree on the final list of requirements with different stakeholders and with the product owner, and then the product owner communicates this with the Scrum Master and the development team. Then they started planning for the next sprint. They picked some items from the product backlog to start working on in coordination with the product owner. So they selected these items, they built the sprint backlog, and they start working the sprint. They provided the output to the product owner and the customer, and they get feedback, which is the retrospective. We use this feedback to plan for the next sprint, right? Okay, now in releasing the product, okay, the release planning steps. So release means making the new feature or product or service available for the customer or the user. Okay, we release this, could be partial release, could be release just one module within the complete system or software, part of the product. Okay, so it can be used by the customer. So first of all, we define the done, right? At the beginning, we defined what's the meaning of done. Once the user story is complete and agreed, we started working on that user story, and then we submit the final output. Now this final output will be evaluated against the definition of done. This definition of done could be, let's say, acceptance criteria. If it has to do this, it has to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if it can do these 5 points, then we'll consider it done. Okay, so sometimes this definition of done could be like an acceptance criteria for the product or the output. Okay, so at that point, we will consider that user story complete and that user story done, or that requirement done, so you can take it off your product backlog. Okay, as we agree on the user stories, we do estimation for the time, or if we can do it in one sprint, or we have to break it down to different sprints. Okay, estimate the number of sprints. The backlog prioritization, it's very important to always prioritize your backlog. Okay, and you select your sprint length from the beginning. Okay, and decide the dates and targets for release. Okay, so these are the release steps. The main important points here are the definition of done and reviewing your output or your product against the definition of done to make sure that the user story is covered. Okay, so in the sprint or the iteration, we said it's a time boxed development cycle within a release. Time boxed, it's limited by time. Okay, usually it produces a potentially shippable product increment. Potentially shippable, something or حاجة you can ship it to the customer. Usually it's between 1 to 4 weeks. We said sometimes it reaches to 6 weeks. The release, when you can release the product, you can release the product if it's tested, okay, and approved internally, and could be like a package including group of increments, different increments, increment 1, increment 2, increment 3. You group them together and release it to the customer. Okay, the purpose is to be used by the end user. Be used by the end user for several reasons. Could be used because they need to use it, okay, or they need to start marketing it and generate some profit out of it, or maybe just to use it internally, just to give feedback. Okay, so different reasons for starting using this. Okay, and it has to deliver value to the customer. It has to be something valuable to the customer, brings value, not just a bunch of papers, doesn't provide them with any functionality or any something, let's say, measurable. Okay, so here, if you can see, we have the release backlog. Release backlog. Okay, what items will be released? Okay, so we have here sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, and each sprint. See, at the end of each sprint, we have potentially shippable product increment. Okay, and at the end of each sprint, we get feedback. And this feedback will help us in backlog grooming and release management. What to release now, what to release later. At the end, we will have the product release, the final product release, or the complete product release. Okay. Also, this product release will go through, we'll get feedback from the customer, and we will use this feedback to enhance our, maybe to correct some issues, and maybe to enhance the next project. Okay. The further you move through the project, the less risk you will have within the project. The more value and the more knowledge you will start generating. The more you work in the project, the more value you will start generating for you, for the customer, and the more knowledge you will acquire and you will collect during the project or through the project. Okay, so these were the main points or the basic points of Agile and Scrum in specific. We covered the concept of Agile. We covered the Agile Manifesto, which has 4 values and 12 principles, right? And we cover the benefits of Agile, the difference between Agile and predictive approach, when to use Agile, when to use predictive approach. Maybe we didn't mention that Agile usually it's preferably that Agile is implemented within smaller project teams. Like if you have a project team between, let's say, 1 and 9 individuals, this is good for Agile. Big projects with big project team could be difficult to implement Agile at that case. Okay, so and we discussed the Scrum methodology in details, the components and the pillars of Scrum and the main concepts of Scrum. The main components as well of Scrum, the people, the events, and the documents. We talked about the roles and responsibilities of each one of the people within the Scrum. We discussed the events as well, and we discussed the documents generated by the Scrum. Okay. As we said at the beginning, that Agile is a challenging. Yeah, looks easy, but it's a bit challenging approach to implement, because to implement Agile successfully, you need to change the mindset a little bit. Okay, which could be hard if the project team are used to work in the predictive approach for a very long time. Maybe it could be challenging to try to change their approach. Okay, but if it implemented well and in a right project with the right team, you and the customer will start feeling the difference. Okay, so the way forward. Now, as you know that this is just an introduction to Agile. There's a complete Agile course provided by Becca, and the PMI organization also offers Agile certification. Diana mentioned something about it, which is the PMI ACP Agile Certified Practitioner. Okay, it has some requirements that you need to have 12 months of project management experience and 8 months of Agile experience, and then you have to submit an exam and pass that exam to be certified. Yet you need to still keep practicing Agile to get used and to get the benefit of that methodology. Okay, now to implement Agile and to adopt Agile in your organization or in your department or section or project, okay, first think of walking, not running. Okay, walking step by step, okay, and keep in mind that in each step, on each next step, you will learn from the mistakes you did in the previous step. So it's very important to implement the lessons learned and collect feedback from the customer and everyone within the team. Okay, so remember that Agile is a journey. It will take some time to be implemented. Start small. Don't look for big bangs and to deliver something big. No, start small in small projects. That will get you used to Agile and will get the team as well used to Agile. Okay, follow iterative approach, as we said. Make it iterations or sprints, so it will be easier to manage. Be precise and Decide about your goals and your SMART goals. We all know SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time frame. Always keep your goals SMART. Okay. This, inshallah, will help you to successfully implement a good agile approach. Okay, by this we reached the end of our training. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new that will trigger the knowledge, research, and looking for more about this and implementing this within your organization. Now we'll start the Q&A session for about 30 minutes, for the remaining 30 minutes. Before we start the Q&A, I would like, because many asked for the presentation or the material itself. The material for this presentation is not available for publishing. However, the whole recording, the whole video for this training will be available in Bakka channel on YouTube in the coming few days. Okay, so after a few days, you can go back to Bakka channel on YouTube, and inshallah, you will find this complete session recorded there, and you can watch it whenever you want. Okay, so let's start with the, I don't know, Diana, if you want to say something before we go to the Q&A. Okay, so yes, so let's start with the Q&A. I will go with the hands raised. Mr. Hussam Mandel.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Mr. Hussam.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. First of all, Hussam, thank you so much for the valuable and informative presentation.
Thanks, Hussam.
Yeah, just a quick one. You've mentioned a lot of benefits when it comes to business agility and agile project management.
Right.
From your experience right now, if you want to talk about some drawbacks of agile project management, can you mention some, if any?
Yes, yes. Actually, there's nothing perfect and there's nothing complete. There are quite few feedbacks I personally experienced in few projects those implemented agile. If the Scrum Master or the project manager, in other terms, was not very much, let's say, dedicated to implement the Scrum methodology and to manage the team very carefully, it will turn to a chaos that everyone thinks that they are free to do whatever they want, and sometimes it will be out of control. So this is the main challenge that I noticed during the implementation of Agile. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Hussam. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Abdullah Amoudi, yes. Okay, Mr. Ziad Ouda.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Hussam, for the valuable session. With all of these valuable information. I'm always, to be honest, trying to adapt or applying this approach, which is, as you said in the beginning, there is no wrong or right between traditional or agile. It depends on the situation. What I'm trying to understand here, usually in the traditional approach, we have a project timeline. As you said, we have also project control. We can control the cost. We can control the allocation. How's generally, if X company or government sector assign or award this project to a vendor, how usually the nature of the contract? So I'm trying to understand the time frame that I can allocate the resources and the time frame that the project will end in the certain point. So this is usually my confusion, how to apply the agile methodology.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. Now, yes, you're totally right that let's say estimating accurate time for completing the project is a big challenge within Agile, because during Agile we welcome and we accept many changes throughout the project. Yes, in projects or in contracts, usually make sure that there is, let's say, a good amount of time reserved for the project, and you cannot estimate accurately the completion date of the project because of the nature of Agile, and because of, let's say, you want to get the benefit of Agile, accepting changes and adapting to change, so you need to sacrifice a little bit with some time. So this is a very important, let's say, clause to include in the Agile contracts, that there should be, let's say, time flexibility, or time penalties could be waived, or whatever thing you agree on. Okay. The second thing in the contracts, you need to agree with the customer that this will be the approach of the project. So they cannot expect you to deliver a complete plan. Maybe you can deliver, let's say, overview of the, let's say, highlight or high level plan for the whole project, but not a detailed plan for the whole project. The customer needs to understand that you will provide documents and plans for the sprint only, not for the whole project. Sometimes it's a challenge to convince the customer to accept that approach. But if the customer is, let's say, understand the benefits of Agile, that could be an easier job. Yeah. Hopefully I did answer your question correctly. Yes.
Honestly, yes. Thank you for giving me these insights. But also, my question here, when I can tell the client with the contract, for example, that, okay, this iteration, we have to stop here. Because what I understand from the Agile, we are incrementally improve the product before while we are releasing it. So when we have a certain agreement with the client that
yes,
we should stop here.
Right.
So,
yeah,
and then I want also to earn profit.
Right, definitely, yes. You mean that if we start, let's say, accepting endless change requests, we'll never finish the project. Yes. Now here we call it the sprint drift. The extra time we need to add more functionalities to the project, or the release drift, to more functionalities to the project, in order to, let's say, make it more valuable to the customer, and we will delay the release for by, let's say, 1 month or 2 months. Now here, you need to talk to the customer representative or the product owner to balance between the financial, let's say, liabilities and the financial value of the changes, and the release dates. So this, they have to take the decision. You have to balance when to stop and when to, let's say, launch the product. As long as there is an agreement, there should be no issues. Now, in let's say, predictive project management, you remember, Ziad, that there was a very important thing about scope management. It applies here as well. You still need to manage your scope. Yes, you may add more features or functionalities to the product backlog, or to the product itself, but these changes should be evaluated, should be, let's say, compensated by time and money as well, just like the normal projects, just to avoid scope creep, as you know. So Agile approach will follow the same change management process, okay, to evaluate the impact of the change, and to give the decision maker the option to stop at this point or to proceed with the change. There's no clear-cut, let's say, answer for this question, because it depends on the situation, as you know.
I get it. I get it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Zia. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So, any questions? Abdullah Al-Amoudi. Yes. Muhammad Al-Arabi, please.
You hear me now?
Hussam, I hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Hussam, for this valuable presentation. And I have many questions, but due to the time constraint, just I have, let's say, one question only. As you know that the business analyst role is regarding handling the requirements. And as I noticed that the product owner plays this role. As I understand that there is no role for business analyst, or there are two roles between the business analyst and the product owner while they handle the requirements.
Yes, yes, right. Yes, you are right. Now, in some organizations, yes, you can call it the business analyst. Yes. So the names we used for let's say the Scrum Master, sometimes they call it the coach, Scrum coach, or the project manager. Okay, the product owner sometimes called the business analyst, or the customer representative, whatever. As long as they are doing the same task, they're handling the same task, they're handling customer requirements, they are connecting the customer with the team. So they are doing basically the same thing, regardless what you call them. Yeah, like there is no reserved title for business analyst here in the Agile, but you still, if you think
in Scrum, you mean? In Scrum,
yes.
But
yes,
in Agile, there are other methods. They have this role. I mean, business analyst.
Right.
So, but in
Right.
Scrum, there is no role for this title.
Yeah. Right. As you know, Mr. Muhammad, the knowledge and the guidelines provided in the PIM book or in the Agile as well are only guidelines, but you can customize it as per your project needs. So even though if you are implementing Agile and Agile doesn't suggest an existence of business analyst, if you believe that the business analyst will add value to your project, no one will complain if you add a business analyst. It's totally your project, it's your organization, it's your customer and your value. So you have full control over it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mohammed. Thank you.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام يا سميرة.
عندي سؤال الله يعافيك. Your advice for fresh graduates who wants to حابين يدخلوا مجال اللي هو ال project management وال analysis.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. As a fresh graduate, I don't recommend going for Agile. I recommend going for project management. Okay. You can go for PMP. Okay, if you can report enough experience required for PMP, or you can go for let's say beginner's level of PMP, which is the I forgot the
CAPM.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the chartered project manager. Yes, so that doesn't require the same amount of duration of experience needed for project management. Once you finish PMP or project management, and once you read the PIM book, it will help you a lot in starting your project in project management. Later on, inshallah, you can go to Agile approach. So your first step, from my point of view, is to start working in PMP and going through the PIM book. Now we have the 7th edition, which is the most recent edition. and it includes lots of agile terminologies and approaches in project management as well. Yes, and by the way, the PMP and the Agile certified practitioners are now available online. You can do the exam online as well.
Sam, may I add something here, please?
Tafadhal, Muhammad. Yes.
Since we started studying traditional project management, and once we try to shift to Agile, so we need to change the mindset, as you mentioned in the lecture. Okay, but do you think that if a new graduate, it is better for them to go directly to Agile with this mindset, no need to change the mindset, because they imagine that this is the way of thinking, I mean Agile?
Yes, yes, right. But yeah, as we said earlier, Muhammad, that implementing Agile doesn't mean that predictive approach is obsolete. No, actually, it's still the base. Agile is just a mindset, but the PIM book and the normal approach will give you the complete journey or the complete process from starting the project till finishing or till closing the project. So Agile will help you in between, will help you how to manage these processes internally, but the general framework is still basically the same that is provided through the PIM book. So this is my point of view actually in this point.
Hussam, if I can pitch also something here.
Please, Hussam.
Yeah, always, you know what, the thing is, when I have such a question from a fresh graduate, from my experience, I always ask them about their background, right? If they are going or intended to go and manage IT projects, I straight away recommend to go for an Agile approach, and methodology and stuff like that, right? However, generally, as you correctly mentioned, it's quite good. It's quite important to have the base, right? To have the traditional way of doing things, and then to touch base the Agile methodologies and frameworks, stuff like that. So I think, it can go both ways.
Thanks. Right. Yes. Thanks, Hussam. Any other questions, please? Yeah. Now the hands are why many. Tariq, yes, Tariq. And Abdurrahman Rashid. So whoever is ready, yes.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Abdurrahman, alaikum salam.
Thank you for this webinar. Actually, I have one question. I'm working on factory. We are build generators. Okay.
Right.
And in this industry, almost our product is defined, and actually our customer, he already mentioned what he wants in a specific purchase order, which is our project will start once we receive this purchase order. So my question is, this Agile technique recommended for this type of industry, or we can go with traditional practice?
Okay. Now, okay. Abdurrahman, you remember the criteria we discussed for implementing or for choosing which methodology to apply. Now, at the beginning of the project, do you have all the requirements ready and available for you to start planning the cost, the time, the risks for your project?
No, not all, but we can say مثلا 65%, 70%, almost we have.
Yes.
70%, because we did my question is, this new way of thinking will help us, or maybe it will, you know, it will affect negatively in our product, our people, our customer. يعني is Agile is the best best way to manage a project, or يعني, or it is only new
yes. Okay. Yes, واضح. Okay, now Agile, Abdurrahman, is a good way for managing project if you select the right project for Agile. تمام؟ يعني as we said, if your project environment or requirements are changing rapidly, this is one of the factors. هذه واحدة من الحاجات إذا كان يعني في متغيرات كثير وسريعة في المشروع أو في بيئة المشروع أو متطلبات العميل. إذا كان التغيير حيكون مكلف، يعني أنتم حاليا في شغلكم إذا العميل طلب أي تغيير حيكون مكلف جدا، maybe it's good to implement Agile. If it's not very expensive, so maybe predictive approach will do fine. If you have enough information to plan for the whole project, and usually يعني it's المشاريع كلها بتمشي بنفس الطريقة وما في اختلاف كبير في المتطلبات, so maybe just predictive approach is fine with you. Okay. There is no يعني زي ما قلنا إنه الأجايل مش معناها it's a better way for managing. لا, it's a better way for managing the projects اللي تنفع للأجايل. Yes, زي ما شفنا الكرايتيريا لو ترجع في الأول هتلاقي في كرايتيريا إمتى تختار أجايل وإمتى تختار البروجكتس العادي. حسام, you want to say something quick? Yeah. Okay. Yes, Abdurrahman, Abdulaziz Raed, Abdulaziz Al-Yamani. Yes. Anyone wants to? Anyone wants to ask question? Yes.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My question is, how can we apply the Six Sigma within the Agile processes?
Okay. Hello. Okay. Now, the main purpose, Abdulaziz, of Six Sigma إيش هو? Is to control and to limit defects, right?
Right.
Yes. Hello. So one of the main requirements of project management يعني واحدة من الobjectives الرئيسية في project management is to limit defects, save time and save cost. So if you can integrate the Six Sigma within the quality requirements or quality standards of your project, that will be very, very good. So if you're asking where to implement it, it could be integrated within your quality plan, project quality management plan. That would be the best fit for your Six Sigma system. Okay.
May I add something?
Please, yeah, Muhammad, thank you.
I think since in this Six Sigma methodology, we have defined, measure, analyze, improve, control. So we could have in a specific phase that we could apply the Agile better. Okay, and I think we could utilize the Agile. But I think I see it like that, but not complete methodology across the Agile, but we could see it as phases.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Okay, Mr. Raed.
Yes, Mr. Hassan, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Raed, wa alaikum salam.
I just would like to ask a small question regarding the normal project. when we link it with Agile. What I know about
Yes.
the project or the duration for the project is started with like 18 months or 24 months.
Right.
And the Agile, it will, I know it is the flexibility with the customer and with his feedback or the amend the scope. But I think for the timeline of the project will be affected. Is that right?
The timeline?
For the complete the project. I mean to
Yes.
deliver the details and
Right,
the
right.
construction.
Yes, in waterfall approach, you can more accurately, let's say, estimate the project duration. في الأجايل شوية بيكون في بيسميها زي ما قلنا بنسميها drift، أو يعني ممكن يكون في delay كنتيجة للchanges اللي في that you received and you adapted during the project. Yes, totally right. Thank you.
Other small question, if you allow me.
Please, Mr.
Yes, for the 7th edition for the PM book, are you giving any training? I mean, for the PMP preparation?
Yes. Becca is giving trainings for PMP exam preparation, and yes, the trainings are updated based on the 7th edition as well. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Any other hands? We have Ibtihal. Miss Ibtihal.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
يعطيك العافية.
وياك.
أول شيء السؤال اللي أنا تخصصي معلوماتية صحية وعندي تخصص تمريض الهيلث انفورماتكس. إذا حبيت أضيف عليه شيء في مجال الأعمال عشان أكون مهيئة أدخل مجال البزنس، هل يكفي إن أنا أخذ كورسز نفس هذا الكورس اليوم، أو تنصح إنه أخذ كورس في BMB مثلا عشان أقدر أدخل مجال البزنس؟
Okay.
في مجال الصحي التقني.
Yes. Yes. أنا بس عفوا أستاذ ابتهال، أنا يعني مجال الصحة التقني إيش يعني تعطيني فكرة أكبر عنه، أنا مش عارف والله ومش فاهم بالضبط إيش تقصد.
يعني كمثال، الصوت واضح؟
يس واضح، تفضلي.
أوكي، يعني كمثال عندنا في المستشفيات نحتاج برامج عبارة عن أنظمة صحية systems. ممكن نجيب هذه systems من الخارج ونعدل عليها، نعمل عليها development. وفي حل ثاني إن إحنا ننشئ هذا النظام من البداية. بالسعودية عندنا نقص شديد في البرنامج اللي يكون ذو جودة عالية، يعني دائما أغلب الأنظمة فيها عيوب أو فيها مشاكل، فتلاقي كل المستشفيات يعني إلى حد الآن ما نقدر نقول أنهم وصلوا للمرحلة الذهبية إنه خلاص يعتمدون على النظام الإلكتروني ويتنازلون عن المعاملات الورقية. فهذا المجال أنا أشوف فيه خير، يعني إذا الواحد دخل فيه يقدر ينجح، بس محتاجة بعض الأدوات أتعلمها بخصوص البزنس عشان أقدر بعدين أنتقل للمرحلة الثانية. أنا خريجة جديدة وعندي خبرة تمريض 11 سنة.
ما شاء الله.
محتارة يعني هل أحتاج أدرس إدارة أعمال أو يكفيني كورس BMB أو يعني هذه الكورسات البسيطة.
أوكي. طيب، هو يعني سؤالك كبير أستاذ ابتهال، أنا يمكن ما أقدر أجاوب عليه بالضبط يعني، ولكن أنا من وجهة نظري الكورس PMP بغض النظر عن الشهادة، يعني أخذت الشهادة أو ما أخذتيها، ولكن كورس PMP وتفهمي كيف المشروع وكيف how to break down المشروع وتكنترول المشروع، أنا أشوفها واحدة من أهم السكيلز اللي ممكن أي واحد يحتاجها ويستفيد منها في أي مجال، سواء بزنس سواء مانجمنت سواء اوبريشن في اي مجال. اوكي this is my يعني هذا رايي في الموضوع. now how to يعني او ايش الفرصات او ايش الحياه اللي تمشي فيها عشان to start a business. يمكن ما اعرف اجاوبك بالتفصيل. ما بعرف اذا في اي حد من الاخوان يقدر يساعد او في بكة ممكن يقدروا يساعدوك.
ممكن اضيف حاجه.
استاذ محمد تفضل.
طيب اللي انا فاهمه انه في سيستمز بتيجي جاهزه في المستشفيات، ولو اختنا تصحح لي، وبتكون فيها قصور وبالتالي بيحصل عليها ديفلوبمنت بزياده فيتشرز على السيستمز دي. لو هذا الكلام صحيح، هل هذا كلامي صحيح؟ لو ترد عليا. طيب على كل حال خليني، ده صحيح الكلام اللي انا قلته. تمام. طيب.
صحيح الكلام.
تمام. في الحاله دي محتاجه تدخلي في المساحه اللي هي فيها بزنس اناليسيز، وفيها جزء لو السيستم دي احنا بنتكلم على IT انفورميشن سيستمز يعني، فتدخلي في المساحه بتاعت الانفورميشن سيستم اللي هي فيها سيستم اناليسيز. يبقى هنا المنطقتين دول، منطقه البزنس اناليسيز ومنطقه السيستم اناليسيز، هم اقرب مساحتين. لو بتتكلمي على التريننج، فالتريننج واضح اكتر في البزنس اناليسيز. في مثلا من بروجكت مانجمنت انستيتيوت في عندهم البي ام اي بي بي اي بروفيشنال ان بزنس اناليسيز. قد يكون ان ده مفيد مرحليا لفهم انك ازاي تحللي البزنس، لكن هتحتاجي تنزلي لمستوى اقل شويه او تفصيلي اكتر في مرحله السيستم اناليسيز اللي هو اقرب الى الانفورميشن سيستم.
شكرا استاذ محمد. شكرا استاذ محمد. شكرا استاذ ابتهال. اوكي يس اي اسئله ثانيه؟ في مستر عمر بسام بليز. يس مستر بسام، في عندك سؤال؟ اوكي عشان اخرنا الشباب بس خلينا نشوف. مس غالية. مس غالية الشمري. يس ترفع الصوت بس بعد اذنك مس غالية. بعيد الصوت.
كذا الصوت واضح؟
اوكي ستيل بعيد بس تفضلي.
سؤالي ايش الفرق بين الاجايل والديف اوبس؟
سوري؟
ايش الفرق بين الاجايل والديف اوبس؟
اوكي طيب الاجايل itself is يعني هو شفتي الفريم ورك وتحته بيجي اكثر من ابروتش. فلو شفتي الابروتشز كلها هتلاقي انه ما فيها اختلافات كثير يعني، او فيها تشابه كثير، مش ما فيها اختلافات، فيها تشابه كبير. فالاجايل يعني تقدر تفكري فيه زي جست امبريلا او فريم بس cover all these different approaches من تحته. regardless ايش الابروتش اللي هتستعمليه، these approaches can still use agile في different steps within the project.
يعني نقدر نقول الديف اوبس شيء مشتق من الاجايل يعني؟
It's يعني similar yes. It's مش يعني هو زي ممكن تقدر تقولي يعني مع الفارق شويه، بس تقدر تقولي مثلا زي السكرام، زي الاكستريم بروجرامينج، زي الكامبان، different ways. بس كلها في النهايه كلها تحت الاجايل ابروتش، وكلها بتحقق نفس الاوبجيكتيف اللي هو فلكسبيليتي ومرونه في التغيير للمشروع.
يعطيك الف عافيه، مشكور.
ثانك يو. طيب
ممكن حسام ممكن اضيف شيء بعد اذنك؟
تفضل استاذ محمد.
هو في الاجايل بشكل عام، الاجايل بشكل عام لما يكون في تغيير مستمر، بمعنى ان في عندنا زي ما حضرتك ذكرت شيبابل برودكت، وبيكون في حاله iteration بتتم في الوضع ده، بيكون adaptive approach، يعني فيها الحالتين. اما الديفوبس، فالديفوبس معني بان في برودكت ديفلوبد، وفي بيحصل هاند اوفر لاوبريشن تيم، وبالتالي بيحصل تنسيق ما بين الديفلوبمنت تيم والاوبريشن تيم باستمرار. تمام، على اساس انه لو التيم تبع الديفلوبمنت انتهى من الديفلوبمنت، هتحصل باجز اثناء الاوبريشن، وبنرجع تاني نصلح الباجز. لا، احنا محتاجين الامر يكون اسرع اكتر. فلهذا السبب تم اسلوب الديفوبس عشان يدمج التنسيق ما بين الديفلوبمنت تيم والاوبريشن تيم.
ثانك يو مستر محمد. اوكي
بي 14.
اوكي طيب. استاذ بسام معانا، عندك سؤال؟ اوكي. مستر أسامة الطيب. أنا بس مش حابب أخركم لأن الوقت خلص. اوكي مستر أسامة الطيب بليز. اوكي. مس فاطمة البكري.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام أستاذ فاطمة، أهلا وسهلا.
لو سمحت أبغى أسأل وش الفرق بين الأجايل من ناحية السيرتيفيكيت والبي ام بي؟ يعني وش الأفضل وش الفرق تقريبا بينهم؟
اوكي. هو الريكويرمنتس مختلفة طبعا عشان فور سيرتيفيكيشن. يعني البي ام بي بيطلب 36 شهر خبرة مثلا، الأجايل بيطلب 12 شهر بروجكت و8 أجايل خبرة. الاثنين بيتكلموا عن البروجكت مانجمنت. اوكي، الشهادتين بيتكلموا عن البروجكت مانجمنت، والشهادتين اقوياء. ممكن البي ام بي معروفه اكثر والناس فاميليار معها اكثر. الاجايل يمكن لسه ما عندها نفس الانتشار تبع البي ام بي. اوكي. اذا كانت الشركه مثلا لو حتشتغل في شركه مثلا، اذا كانت حسب طبيعه مشاريعها، اذا كان مثلا مشاريعها اي تي، مشاريعها ابلكيشنز، مشاريعها سوفت وير، ممكن they will appreciate agile اكثر. اوكي. انا في رايي انه يعني كل الشركات they will appreciate BMP، بس اذا كان طبيعه الشركه فيها يعني بتحتاج flexibility اعلى، so they will appreciate agile اكثر، واذا كانت مع البي ام بي حيكون ممتاز. انا رايي نفس اللي قلته في الاول، ان البي ام بي is a base كويس ان الواحد يبدا منها to start with other certifications، سواء كان risk management، سواء كان program management، portfolio management، او agile management. وعلى فكره اذا كنت بتفكري مثلا تقدم شهاده الاجايل، واحده من المتطلبات 12 شهر خبره في project management. إذا كنت certified في PMP فالدس متطلب is cancelled أو waived. مش مطلوب منك تثبتي خبرة 12 شهر because you are certified PMP. فالشهادتين كويسين، ولكن إيش التوجه؟ اللي انت حابه تروحي فيه this will يعني ممكن يحدد اكثر.
اضيف حاجه معلش، سوري فاطمه معلش، اضيف حاجه بس يا حسام برضه في كلامك.
بليز
البي ام بي nowadays كمان فيها almost 50% agile، يعني بيدرس بي ام بي بال 2021 exam content outline definitely حيفهم الاجايل you know in a nutshell right. بعد كده if you want to support البي ام بي، يعني دائما my advice بتكون للشباب انه if you want to support الاجايل knowledge او الاجيلتي اللي عندك just go for Scrum Master. Go my point. So انت في الاول تاخذ البي ام بي، تاخذ البيز معاها الاجايل methodologies و frameworks و different you know setups, then you go and specialize في ال popular agile framework اللي هي السكرام. ما في nowadays السكرام والكانبان هم بكملوا بعض right.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you Hassan.
Yeah.
Thank you. اوكي شكرا استاذة فاطمة. خلينا نشوف في مستر راشد أبكر.
Yes. السلام عليكم.
Yes, please. Go ahead. عليكم السلام.
Thank you very much for this informative presentation.
Thanks Rashid.
الله يعافيك. أبى أسألك سؤال بخصوص مجال السيلينج. Because currently I'm working in selling, so I generally like how can we apply agility in selling since you know the market keeps changing, which affect the customer needs. And yeah, so can you like give some informations or general advices on how to keep meeting your customer like needs and something like that?
Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm not coming from sales background. However, one of the very famous examples we always discuss in the trainings, as you always know, is the Nokia example. That a leading company failed to satisfy customer requirements because, as you said, that customer requirements are always changing. So the main point is to keep and maintain direct communication and constant communication and interaction with the customer. Because as you said, requirements now are rapidly changing, customer requirements. So this is the first thing. The second thing, and then to reflect these changes or these requirements into your marketing plans or marketing approach, train your team, update your team with these approaches. I believe this will help you in adapting to the changing requirements of the customer. This is my point of view. I don't know if there's any one of the attendees from sales background or similar background who can add more value, please. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Rashid. Yes, Mr. Osama, please. Yes. Hello. Okay. Okay. So who else still? Miss Ahlam?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Ahlam.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Hussein, for your time and your valuable information. I have a question about, you described Agile as a mindset. Maybe it is easy to adapt this among your team, but if your project need communication with other departments or other teams, how we can encourage them to adapt the same
Yes.
Agile mindset?
Yes, totally right. Okay. Whenever I face this situation, Ahlam, that I need someone to let's say collaborate with me in a project, but they have, let's say, a different approach or different mindset. Always ask yourself from their point of view, because they are asking themselves the same question: what's in it for me? Okay, for me as another department. Okay, not your project team, another department. What will I benefit, or what will be my benefit if I implemented your agile approach? Okay, so you have to find something for them to encourage them to implement agile, and let them see a benefit out of it for them. Okay, it's not just only about you and your project and your benefit. They have to benefit as well. Maybe benefit could be a new experience, could be, let's say, exposure to a new methodology. Benefit could be more value, let's say, in the project itself, savings, faster project delivery, higher customer satisfaction, whatever. So in generally, this is how I think about these situations. Always think from their perspective. Okay, I believe yes, we have Mr. Omar and we have Mr. Razan. Yes, so whoever is ready can go ahead, please. And we have Mr. Firas as well.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام فراس.
أسعد الله مساكم جميعا. Thank you, Mr. Hussam, for this presentation. If you allow me, I'd like to share my experience in Agile approach.
Please, thank you.
Government sector and the digital transformation agency. So we have a project. Usually we use the standard. We go with the waterfall. That each IT project will go through the business analysis, then we get the approval from the users, then we go for development, then we go for testing, then launching الإطلاق. In one of the contracts كان في change request وطلبوا قسم التحليل أو تحليل الأعمال اللي هم البزنس اناليسيس طلبوا شهرين، بينما التعاقد مع المطورين راح ينتهي في خلال فترة بسيطة، يعني مثلا نقول 4 شهور. فاستخدمنا الأجايل أبروش to utilize the time، بحيث إنه فريق التحليل بدل ما ياخذ الشهرين كاملة بعدين يسلم الوثيقة لفريق التطوير، قلنا نسوي فريق الأجايل بالسكرام ماستر، بحيث إنه التحليل يشتغل. طبعا قسمنا الاي تي بروجكت إلى sub يعني components as you said stories و user cases، بحيث يكون في تطوير بشكل جزئي للمراحل. يعني في كل التو ابروتشز البرنامج لازم يطور ويسلم لليوزر بشكل كامل. فاستخدمنا الاجايل ابروش to make the users the use cases عفوا، ويتم تحليلها وتطويرها واختبارها واطلاقها وتسليمها للبزنس بشكل اجزاء صغيره. في الاخير تسلم المشروع بنفس التايم فريم. كسبنا المطورين معانا في الفتره هذه 4 شهور كسبناهم، والتحليل بينما بدل ما ياخذ شهرين كامله حل الجزء وسلم، بينما الجزء اللي بيتطور هو بيحلل الجزء اللي بعده وهكذا. فهذا كانت فائده جميله في تطبيق الاجايل ابروش في اداره المشاريع. يعطيكم العافيه.
Thank you Firas for sharing this. Okay. Yes. طيب في anyone else? Okay, I can see that. Yeah, we still have Omar, Osama. I don't know if you are still raising your hand. طيب just قبل ما أنسى it's very important to remind you to use the promo code عشان ممكن يعطيك خصم على دورات ثانية reach about يعني 80% مع بكر. وإنه الدورة عندها شهادة، واللي ياخذ الشهادة وينشرها على لينكدين ممكن يدخل على سحب في دورة مجانية. Okay, so remember the promo code and the yes, the free seat in one of the ECBA training with Bakr. Okay, yes, so we have two hands, Omar and Osama. Do you have something, or this is just you forgot to?
So, Mr. Hussam?
Rashid, please, yeah.
Sorry, can you remind us of the promo code?
The promo code is Agile.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, so thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience and holding up to 11:20. Thanks for your valuable discussions and inputs. All of you, actually, we have more than 400 participants. And hopefully we see you in other Bakka trainings soon. So wish you the best and wish you a good night as well.